Hey everybody, sorry for the wait.
It's the return of late Shaw.
We're just late.
After all, we're just late. Sorry guys, I had tech difficulties, kind of as always, but this time with more feeling.
we, we, we,
So
oh my god, we forgive you. We don't mind.
thanks. So we started off everything hot. Where while waiting for hot takes, we took too long to process, but we're excited. We have a lot. We have a lot on the plate. We got a lot going on. So big thanks to everyone who submitted their hot takes.
Yes.
Big thanks to the people who saw us complaining about the hot takes being single sentences and not having explanations, and then revise their hot takes. And thank you, Onimaru, for putting them back in the Wheel of Doom. So
Yeah, you're welcome.
you know,
We've got the
we
wheel
got
handy.
this was a real community effort. So we're excited to take everyone down while being 10 minutes late.
Yep. Is it 10 minutes? Oh, it's 10 minutes.
And yeah. So,
right,
fun times
well,
ahead.
we're here. Hello, T-Joe in the chat? T-Ho or T-Joe?
T-Joe.
T-Joe. All right. Yeah. Well, everyone takes their seats. This is the pre-show right before we start. We got to get our bearings together, you know.
I'm also gonna record audio, so our audio listeners are in for a treat, and hopefully I won't cut out of that. So
Yeah. I'm not going to record audio because I'm not
That's
set
fair.
up for it right now. But you
And
don't
because
need to hear me.
well, you have like good internet on a regular basis, so
That's true.
yeah.
I try. All right. It's T-Joe.
Been on the edge of my
Weirdy
seat
has been on the
waiting.
edge of his seat. Yeah, we got some
Thank you.
spicy ones. We got some spicy
I'm
ones.
excited. We have a range of I'll call them like Shaw tier hot takes, where they're like not really hot takes, but like you're not sure. So like some people emulating my level of hot takes,
Yeah.
which not very spicy. Then we got some like Diablo pepper hot takes. So
Ghost pepper.
ghost
hot
pepper.
takes.
Ghost
Yeah,
pepper hot takes. So we got a lot going on.
we got
I'm
some
excited.
essays. You know, we got some
People going
explanations
hard
that
for
were
us.
essay level.
I was excited. I mean, we got some, once we said explain yourself, then people were like, oh, if you insist.
Yeah.
And then they just kept going.
That's the name of the game.
Yeah.
To Dancing Mad in the chat, nice Mega 64 t-shirt. Thank you. I got this one at AX 2019. You know, when conventions
Oh.
were still a thing. Yeah.
I didn't recognize that one.
Yeah, it's a Mega 64. My friends are more fans of them than me. I was picking up the exclusive shirts at AX for them, but I was like, I'll get myself one. I like a few things from them. They did Evangelion in 5 minutes. That sketch, it's really good.
Oh, that's
And then they did End of Eva in 5 minutes, which was amazing. So
oh, nice. I could
if
only
you haven't watched it, watch it on YouTube.
Watch it on youtube.com.
Yeah, Tom says he was asked to explain, so he explained.
Thank you. I'm not sure which one was Tom's. There were a lot that I had no idea who posted it, and some I had an inkling, and some people just straight up told us. So another range of hot takes and anonymity.
T-Joe says, mine's one sentence because I thought we were supposed to explain them on stream. I mean, you still can.
You can do that. Yeah, that's fair game. I don't know if we included it or not, though, if it's only...
If we didn't include it, just bring it up, and then
Yeah.
with an explanation. What else? How's the audio, guys? Do we sound okay? Is any of us, is either me or Shaw cutting out? Are our volumes somewhat equal? Let us know. Just checking Twitter. Okay, Twitter. How much of these involve Junie Tyson? I don't think I saw any Junie Tyson.
I don't think we saw any Junie Tyson. Zero Junie Tyson representation. Tijo said, Shaw, your shirt's really cool representing the GOAT ending. Thank you. I agree. And you might see this coming back later in one of the hot takes. I might have picked this shirt out specifically because one of the hot takes mentioned Jujutsu Kaisen. And I was like,
that one's in there. That one's in there.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. We only cut out a few. By a few, I mean a bunch. We
got lucky. Big shout out to the community for rolling up with hot takes. We definitely appreciate it. At first, we didn't get too many, and then we constantly got on everyone's case. And everyone showed up. So we
worked.
appreciate it.
Yeah, everyone rolled up. All right. So I can't extend this any longer. I think we should start.
Yeah.
We should start now. All right. Let's get into it.
No rational person would do as you have done. Explain yourself.
And welcome to the Just Weebs podcast. I am your host, Hot Takes Maru, and I'm here with my co-host, Hot Take King. And today we've got another installment of Hot Takes Battle Royale, but this time our opponent is the community. So to give a little bit of context, a few weeks back, me and Shah asked the community to send us their wildest, spiciest takes. That was like 4 weeks ago, and we got a lot of submissions. And so the purpose of this stream is we're going to unpack them to the best of our ability and respond to them. Shah also saw them. How are you feeling about them, the spiciness level?
Well, we kind of gave a bit of an intro in our pre-stream, but for the audio listeners, we got the full range of not very hot takes, kind of like on my level of barely a hot take. And then we got the Ghost Pepper hot Diablo takes. So we got the full range. Some of which also we're not even sure if they really count as a hot take, but they do kind of lead to some interesting discussions. So we kind of left them in just to kind of speculate and get what the community felt. So big, I guess maybe slightly big announcement for the people who submitted their hot takes. Since the segment is also explain yourself. If you did not explain yourself, we kind of cut off those takes. We also left off some of them where me and Onimaru have not seen the series. And we also left off some that were very spoiler heavy that one of us had not seen. So like we got a lot of Clanad after story takes. And since Onimaru hasn't seen them and the hot takes kind of directly respond to big spoiler moments, we left those out because you can't really go into extreme detail kind of describing or explaining them without spoiling the whole series. So we tried to kind of included some that might have a few spoilers, but nothing major, no major spoilers. So
so we did that. We weeded out quite a few, and so but we still have a lot here. We still got a lot of takes. So
we brought back the Wheel of Doom.
Yeah,
we'll need a better name for that.
We'll go with Wheel of Doom, Hot Takes Wheel, the Flame Wheel.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Could go with the Gianni Wheel.
The Gianni Wheel. There you go. The subtitled anime wheel. Now maybe there's just the Gianni Wheel. But although subs in general bring up a lot of debate, so maybe that's appropriate.
Even for Squid Game. Thank you, Squid Game, for bringing one of the most annoying arguments to a worldwide stage. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Squid Game. In terms of the wheel, because in terms of the title being Explain Yourself, that is the title of this game that we play. It's just kind of like easy to miss with our previous Hot Takes Battle Royales because our opponents were on stream, so they could just actively explain themselves, as opposed to us asking people for takes and then not knowing that it's not just the take itself, it's the explanation is what is the challenge. But anyways, let us get right into it. I'm going to bring up the wheel of the Gianni Wheel.
Gianni Wheel.
And here it is in all its glory. And shall we spin it and see what comes up first?
Yeah, let's see.
Let's get into it. All right. We're going to spin it. And now you should be able to hear it. Let me know if you don't hear it, chat, when the wheel spins. So here it is.
Let's go.
This is such a long one that you can't even see the whole thing. It's pretty funny.
Okay, should I read it? I can read it because I remember it. Okay, so this starting off strong with one that we both don't actually have firsthand experience with, so we're gonna need the chat if they have consumed this to help us out. But I already know this is a hot take. So the full take reads: the Shibuya arc and Jujutsu Kaisen represent is incredibly underwhelming, and that's because it requires you to care about the characters in JJK. The issue with this is that Yuji is underdeveloped and kind of stale as an MC. Sukuna is fine, but not really that exciting. Gojo is also fine, but also not interesting enough to care for. It genuinely reminds me of Tokyo Ghoul with how the general anime public praises it for being slightly above average, and even then for JJK, that simple praise seems greatly undeserved. Sorry. So I have heard a lot about the Shibuya arc without actually hearing what happens. I've seen it be compared to the Chimera Ant arc all the time, generally considered one of the best new gen shonen arcs, and I've heard that's like generally when the series gets great. I know pretty much nothing about it, but I think you might remember too, we saw some kind of hinting at something going down in Shibuya in the anime, so I'm guessing if there's a season 2, which there probably will be, like it'll probably cover this. But this one is just so funny because you can kind of boil down anything to like, well, this thing would be good if you cared about the characters, and if you don't care about them, it's not going to be good. So seems kind of like a,
I feel like I'm about to get into like we're gonna just critique the actual construction of this hot take more than the actual take itself, because I'm about to say like it'd be more interesting if they went into like explaining why Yuji is underdeveloped and kind of stale.
Yeah, for sure. We might be doing some critiquing of hot takes. Sorry if that happens, but we've seen some really funnily worded hot takes, and I just want to like highlight them sometimes. But
yeah. So, I can sort of agree. Like, I don't know. I didn't read the Shibuya arc, and I've heard great things. Not too much about it besides it, like, oh, it's amazing. You can't wait until it happens. It's going to be really good. But, like, I can see someone not being as invested in Yuji, because I did like him in the first episode and his introduction of him. But I feel like throughout the run of the season that was animated, or as far as the anime got, I don't know if he got much more development after that, so I could see someone not being as invested in him. But that's kind of about as far as it goes. I can't really comment on anything else.
Yeah. So since I am on the same boat, so kind of, mailing it into chat, Sushi55, what a great name. I've read JJK, don't agree with this take, because while JJK is more fast-paced than most long-running shonen, it still does a good job developing its cast. I'm kind of a bit more on the like accepting of JJK's cast than most series. Like, I can definitely understand why people would find Yuji underdeveloped, but I don't know. I'm not like over the moon with him, but I do generally like him, and I definitely like him more than other new gen shonen main characters. I think they nailed the like everyday dude aspect really well.
He's like a, genuinely good guy, that he cares, and it's not, it doesn't feel contrived, Yeah,
he feels very like normal, but in an approachable good way. And Sushi continues saying, anyone who read JJK also knows insanely well that Yuji develops big time throughout the series, especially during this arc. Then so it does sound like, I mean, it does kind of remind me of like, it kind of reminds me in a similar vein, like Chimera Ant arc criticisms, where they're like, Gon is boring and doesn't develop. And then you're kind of like, I have some tangible proof of that happening. We got some before and after pictures that kind of get the point across. So I've seen some screenshots of Yuji in this arc, which I think might, if they are what I think they are, I think I might be on Sushi's side with like, he probably does develop. And then
we've also got Kay in the chat saying, don't agree. I think Gege did an incredible job at making care for characters, especially Gojo. He was underdeveloped, but right before Shibuya, we got hidden inventory, which fleshed out his character.
Ooh, that sounds nice in a nice foreboding way. And Walt Will 3 said, I think it's other problems with the Shibuya arc, but not for this reason. And that's one of those you can always like, when you're like, hey, I actually have issues with this thing, but these aren't it. That's one of my favorite positions to be in, where I'm like, I almost agree with you, but not for this reason. So,
I mean, then there's the other part to this take, which is not just the Yuji part, but it's like this just gets praise, simple praise that's greatly undeserved.
Also, just throwing in Tokyo Ghoul taking some haymakers for the sake of it,
Yeah.
I kind of understand that like simple praise that seem undeserved, maybe not for these series, but like I understand that mentality. So, I mean, I think I will read this arc and not agree with them. So our community will have to tell us just how hot of a take this is in the meantime.
I feel like this is possibly kind of hot because we got a lot of disagreements with it, So
it seems like most people would disagree.
Not super hot, but kind of
Yeah.
hot, a little bit.
I
hot.
think if we read JJK, then we would be like very hot. But since we don't, it's kind of like, you see like a volcano go out off in another country, and you're like, oh, that's pretty hot, but like you can't feel it because you're not closer.
And then just to highlight Gustavo in the chat, he also says, as someone not familiar with the manga and shonen in general, I enjoy the JJK anime immensely and looking forward to the Zero movie and whatever comes after that. So that's a good perspective, like someone that's not really acquainted too much with the shonen formula and kind of what happens. So
yeah,
typically. So ready for the next one, chat?
I'm ready.
Sha, should we go to the next one?
Yeah, hope everyone is also keeping track of the most egregious hot takes, because we're going to do the same thing where, like, at the end, we're going to remember the hottest take and crown them the winner.
The community.
The community.
Or the anonymous take. This take is the biggest offender. This is the worst take.
Yeah, if I, like, track them down with pitchforks and all.
Yeah,
so.
reveal yourself.
Reveal yourself, the next one. Oh, and so you can just hit hide choice.
Oh, see, that's useful. There you go.
Yay, there we go. Okay.
That's fixed. All right. I'm going to spin the wheel, and let's go.
Hopefully we've seen the stream this time.
Yeah, I tried to avoid putting really long ones in here. Never mind. For audio listeners, this one's just incredibly long.
Okay, I remember this one, but the beginning of this is cut off, so... And my camera is also cut off.
And Sha's camera just decided to peace out too.
So tilted that it got cut off.
I mean, I can read this one. I think I have it. Let me just see. Forth. This one's a Hunter x Hunter take. For those who haven't can tell from the bits and pieces. Let me see where this is. So it's specifically a Leorio take.
Yeah, I think it's positive towards Leorio, though. You want to read the full thing, or do you want me to pull it up? I'm
still like trying to see where it is.
Okay.
Oh, here it is. No, I got it. Leorio is my top one in Hunter x Hunter. The series is filled with characters who do a lot of good and bad things, leaving this interesting gray morality that each character has. But in every arc that he appears, Leorio is the only character who's consistently kind and compassionate. And while Leorio may be kind and compassionate, his flaws, like his inferiority complex, still allow him to be grounded. He shines to me especially after Chimera Ant arc, where the flaws of humanity are pointed, and the chairman election arc, where politics are broken down to be shown what they are. He's consistently honest about his goals, and that's so refreshing to see.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't really have much to say. Like, it's a cool reason for having Leorio as a favorite. I think it's a good reason. I think that's just pretty, it's a hot take by definition, because a lot of people don't have Leorio as their favorite due to lack of screen time, but like, I see nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's like, I think the way you said it, you kind of nailed it. It's not like it is a take, but it doesn't feel like a hot take. It just feels like just an explanation of Leorio, a good explanation of Leorio's, good qualities and what makes him a good character.
Unique take. Not a hot take, but unique take.
But I will say, and maybe this is the hot take in itself, that I've never found any value in Leorio. So this to me helps me appreciate him more, because I was just like, why do people like Leorio? He's barely around in the whole series, and then he just shows up at the end. And then it's like, oh, he was part of the cast all along. And I'm like, no, he wasn't. He wasn't around.
Yeah, I mean, I love Leorio just for his personality and good-naturedness, which is highlighted in this take. And I think he works really well as kind of like a straightforward good dude who's like, pretty normal and being like kind of pervy and kind of a slacker, not really competent, but like good natured. So I do think he should be in the series more. I think his character utilization has been not the best, and I think he deserves more screen time. But I think fair enough.
Yeah. All right. And then Gustavo says, "Man, I have to make time for the Hunter x Hunter anime." Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do. All right. Let's go on to the next one.
Yeah. Would this one be shorter and fit on screen or not?
I don't know. I think there was a few. There was like a few that I like shortened that I was like, nah, I'm not gonna put the whole thing. And then there was a few that I was like, fuck it, we might be able to see it. Okay. And so far those failed to me.
Yeah, we'll find out.
So we'll see. It keeps happening. I made the wrong choice.
Should we like do, I don't know if it's easy to share or not. Probably not. Okay. I'm not sure if we should pull up like the Google Doc in like another tab and scroll to it or something.
Probably. Let's see.
So I can read this again, but I feel bad for people watching who are like, "What is this?"
What is this monstrosity? Just read it.
Okay, so
we'll make it through.
We'll cope one how. Okay, so here's the full take. Sorry to everyone streaming. There has never been a singular episode more impactful to a show's popularity and staying power than episode 19 of Demon Slayer. I watched Demon Slayer as it was airing. Before 19, the show was anticipated and talked about positively week to week. But literally overnight, the show has made some news channels and exploded on every social media platform and forum. Attack on Titan episode 1, SAO episode 1, and One Punch Man season 1 episode 12 are the only singular episodes that come close. But even then, Demon Slayer 19 blows them out of the water. This episode is what took Demon Slayer from known in the anime community to known by anyone that uses the internet. Without this episode, Demon Slayer would be nowhere near one of the most successful animes of all time. Definitely not having the most profitable anime movie of all time either. Demon Slayer anime owes 70% of its success to 19. Yeah.
Chad, I highly apologize for the walls of text.
Yeah, I think we should. Are you able to share the Google Doc in like another tab, or like close out of this and share
let's
it?
See. No, because then the Google tab has like everything. So.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll keep going. We'll see how many walls of text we encounter. But in terms of the take itself, we got people in the chat saying not really a hot take. Is this a hot take? Episode 19 ain't even that good.
I think what's going to happen is I think this is actually correct. I think this is a correct, accurate take. But I think people would not like it because there are people who don't find episode 19 all that good, and they don't want to give enough. They don't want to give that much credit to episode 19 of Demon Slayer as like the most impactful episode possibly of all time.
Yeah.
But I think it is accurate that episode 19 of Demon Slayer, no matter how you feel about it, is what took Demon Slayer from an anime community, a known anime in the community, to a worldwide phenomena. Like, I think that is an accurate summation of what happened.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it depends on how much credit you want to give Demon Slayer and how much you're willing to recognize that maybe an episode that you're like neutral on or whatever was impactful enough to make something, a billion-dollar, not a billion-dollar franchise, but like multi-million-dollar franchise.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I definitely, for the most part, I agree with this take. I think, like you said, most people just don't want to give that credit because it's Demon Slayer out of like all the anime that exist. Why, Demon Slayer, which a lot of people find either bland or a little too, not as unique. But, it definitely reached many parts of the internet. So
it's like it's like when people don't want to recognize that like Your Name, which broke tons of records and kind of brought like anime movies to like a wider audience. Like they don't want to give it that credit because they don't like it as much, but like facts are facts. Like you can correlate the success to Your Name's success. Like that's just how it works sometimes.
Yeah. So hot take, maybe not. It's more factual than a hot take, but
yeah, it's like an accurate summation.
It's more like a defense, I guess.
Yeah. And I'm one of those people who doesn't find episode 19 like all that crazy. I get the appeal, but like credit where credit is due. It took it to a new level.
I mean, the animation was sick in episode 19, and that was kind of like it,
Yeah.
Story-wise, it was just kind of the continuation of the battle from last episode, so.
Yeah. Well, they did play the sad song, and the sad song worked.
It worked really well.
Sad song worked. Yeah.
All right. On to the next one, guys. Fingers crossed that it isn't as long. If it is, I'll have to figure something out.
Yeah, because I don't mind sharing the screen, even though people can see other takes.
Yeah.
As long as people can see these.
All right, let's go again.
Oh, this is actually kind of on screen.
Sort of, kind of.
Can you zoom out of the browser a bit?
I'm trying to. You know what? Let me see if I can.
Go. There it is.
Yeah.
That might work. Yeah, we did it. Yay.
All right. Depending on how long it is, the levels of zoom, we'll have to just keep going.
Yeah.
All right. So, not wanting to watch or read an anime or manga for its art style is completely valid, as no matter how good the story is, a mediocre or worse art style will always be a hindrance and spoils the enjoyment, though what is a bad art style varies person to person.
I mean, like, yeah, but I guess it just varies. Like, I think for me, maybe just because I'm not like I'm not the most visual with my broke ass vision, like my eyes are like whatever. I do appreciate a good art style, and I do think it's a huge positive, and some of the best series have the best art styles, but I don't place as much value on art style as some people. So whenever some people complain about it, I've always kind of take it with like a grain of salt, because I'm like, you could like, just watch it for like the story and characters, like just see what happens. But I do understand that art style matters a lot more to other people. So I think it depends on the person. I'm not the person, but it might be some other person.
I mean, I get it's actively, if it's actively distracting and hampering your enjoyment, as the take says, and you don't want to read it, it's like, again, you can't really force people. I've been on both sides where before I wouldn't want to read something because of the art style, but then I came around and sort of just was like, oh, the story's good, and I got used to it. But there are some that, like, I think the Attack on Titan manga just wasn't really enjoyable to kind of read it because of the art style and the text, and it was hard to follow. So I was like, I fell off.
Yeah.
And, so I get it from that. Oh, go ahead.
I might have the counter hot take that just because something has a good art style doesn't mean it's good. Because I think there's a bunch of series that I know that like half of the praise comes from the art style.
Yeah.
If you take away half of it, then people would be like, nah. But then again, that goes into the art style is the story. So fair enough. Chad has some good takes on it. A lot of people agree. Someone says hard disagree. Sushi55 says hard disagree. Lots of series have weaker art form production value depending on what OP meant, but are otherwise exceptional. Someone's like
Berserk 1997. There you go.
Well, no, I don't agree with that. That's like a very good looking series. Well,
I'm saying like some people might think like the production didn't hold up as well nowadays. But the direction was good, and the way it was done was good.
The background art,
like they did a lot with like not a lot. If you go,
it's just minimal animation. It's not like bad animation.
Yeah, but for someone that's like comparing it to like, I don't know, a Jujutsu Kaisen, like
I think I could make an argument that Berserk 97 looks better than Jujutsu Kaisen, even wearing the JJK shirt, because the art direction is so good in Berserk. Like there's so many scenes that are framed in such an iconic, like powerful way that like just because it's not moving doesn't necessarily mean it's like lesser than JJK with like really flashy art styles.
Just for clarification, I'm not saying 97 looks bad.
No, but that's why I mean where it's like people like, I think when people complain about 97 and they're like art style bad, they just mean it looks old and they're not really like taking it into consideration. Like, I don't think they're giving it a fair chance unless because I saw someone say that like, it looks like it was drawn in Microsoft Paint. And as someone who has drawn a lot of things in Microsoft Paint, I could not make Berserk 97 in Microsoft Paint.
The ones that get me though are people that give like Mob Psycho a hard time because of the art style. And it's like, I don't get that. It's so good.
That's what happens. See, you can't give these people too much, because once you start giving them an inch, they'll start saying that Mob Psycho looks bad because it's sketchier than, like more defined art styles. So you got to go hard. You got to go hard to defend the home base. I don't know. But someone said, I think the two examples, who said 97 has more soul. Don't do this to me. We're getting to the soul one later. I'll explain my whole beef later. But some Classfox said people not wanting to watch Clanad because of the eyes, or not wanting to watch Code Geass or any Clamp series because of the lanky bodies. I guess like fair enough, but like it's also one of those things where like I don't think they look bad. Like you watch them and put them on and they work perfectly fine.
It doesn't bother me too much, the lanky bodies never bothered me. It's just an art style, like similar to Nana. Some people didn't like Nana because the art style, and I was like,
And that's the thing. I think that's what it comes down to is I can respect this take, but I don't like it because most of the time when people say something similarly, it's because they're not willing to go out of their comfort zone to try different art styles, and that's where I'm like, try something new. That's where I come from.
Yeah, and it depends also what type of person you are, I think, because like, I don't know. Like, I never liked One Piece's art style in the beginning, and that's why I held off on it for like many years when it was still kind of like I won't say new, but it was still like in the early 300 chapters.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of got used to it, and I was like, all right, I like One Piece, and then that was kind of it. But then there are other people who know that even if like they would just won't like the art style, and they won't like it, even if they get used to it or read 100 chapters, they just kind of know what they like, and then that's kind of it. So if you're like that, then it's like
I've been very guilty of slandering Muv-Luv because I think the character designs look really bad. And I'm sure if I actually read the visual novel, I would be okay with their character designs and the art style. I'm sure I would get to that point. But until then, slander away.
Yeah. Anything else on this take, guys?
Sushi 55 got me.
This is a hot one.
It's a hot one, but I think people I like how people are kind of torn on this. That's what we want. That's what we're looking for. So
yeah, conflicted takes.
Save that one for a rainy day in like an hour. Jesus. Sorry. Whatever.
Yeah. And I think like for example, Yuasa, like Devilman Crybaby, you know, the art style fits it very, very well. So
I've gone to war for some Yuasa art styles. I think I'm just coming at this take as like someone I've been hurt in the past. So too much slander for my art styles that I got to go to bat for. So
all right.
On to the next one.
Let's go to the next one. Okay, this is one of the ones that did have an explanation, and I just cut it to just this line.
Okay,
although
this one, I saw this one, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna wear my JJK shirt because it's mentioned at some point. So I was like, here we go.
I
have the. Sorry, should I read the explanation?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Well, go ahead. Just read the explanation. I'll just say it after.
Okay. Let me control find. Where'd it go? It's like.
And also for audio listeners, the take is just Chunibyo has better animation than Jujutsu Kaisen.
Okay. It's consistent in JJK. Sometimes it feels like some of the scenes, like the Nanami fight scene in episode 12, I guess it's not consistent. Chunibyo has better art. The fight scenes rival JJK's best animation, and the character acting was realistic. So I have thoughts on this, and this is kind of a broader thought. But first, I think this is a fair take. You could make the argument blank Kyoani show has better animation than other show any day of the week. Like, that's a very valid, fair take. Number two, this is my broader take. I'm tired of people saying, like, this slice of life series that has an occasional fight has better fight scenes than this series where they fight consistently. Because it's like, yeah, the series that is mostly focused on grounded character animation is probably going to have a better singular fight than a series that has consistent fights that they're constantly trying to update on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
That's pretty true. And also, like with longer running shonen, like Naruto or something like that, as an example, the longer the productions, the less they put into them. You know, because it's more episodes, so they have to be more efficient.
Yeah. Exactly. And I'm not saying that invalidates the like slice of life series has better animation than action series, but it grinds my gears when they're like, this one has better fights. Like, of course, it has one or two fights versus consistent fights that are being animated. Like, come on.
Class Fact says Chunibyo has a lot of them, to be honest. So I can't verify this because I have not watched Chunibyo. I didn't even know it had fight scenes. So I was just like, oh, okay.
That's fair. Like, I haven't seen Chunibyo, but I know that there's probably a few. I'm just thinking of more of like when Maid Dragon was like, which also has great animation. People were like, Maid Dragon has better fight scenes than this action series. Like, yeah, of course, there's one or two a season. Like, this isn't a big thing. But also, as it says, I think this is a fair take. So, because any Kyoto animation series having better animation than something else is a fair take. Like, we've been new. So, I'm going to say not a hot take.
What is chat saying? Valid take. Yeah, they're questioning the hotness. So, it's probably not a hot take then.
Not a hot take.
Not a hot take. All right, let's go on to the next one. All right, this next one is about Attack on Titan. It's the over-the-top bombast of Attack on Titan had me bursting out in laughter at least a couple dozen times. For example, the dramatic directing of the Beast Titan throwing rocks and horses, similar to how a monkey flings literal pieces of shit. Was there more to this take, or is this everything? I think
Well, there was
it.
another one that was similar that I'm not sure if you included or if
I did not.
Okay, so I'm gonna include this other one. This other one is a bit more involved and slightly different, but I think it's in a similar vein. So I'm just gonna read it out loud. It's Araki's directing skills are overpraised in relation to the first season of Attack on Titan. While he can match and elevate the intensity of the series, that intensity seeps into the show's other emotional beats and hampers their intended effect. The sad, tragic horror moments don't really reflect those emotions because they're so overblown that the audience is tricked into thinking they actually are. I'm guessing they mean they actually are like more over the top than they're intended to be. So essentially saying, yeah, I think they're just saying, yeah, like Attack on Titan has really over the top directing that can hinder the series for them. So I think in our circle of Twitter and also our like,
is this mostly aimed at, what was it? Which season was this?
The other one was season 1, but this is season this is in season 2 and season 3.
Because the Beast Titan didn't come till later. Okay, because that was a different director.
Yeah, that's a different director. So this is just saying the over the topness of Attack on Titan, whereas the other one was saying specifically Araki's directing.
Gotcha.
But I think they're both kind of like related, in the same sense of saying like the over the topness of Attack on Titan can hinder the other elements and just take you out of the series.
Yeah.
I think that's just pretty like fair. I don't think the Beast Titan throwing shit was like really that I mean, like out of place.
I can see
how
it can take people out of it, but it similar to you, it didn't really take me out of it, Yeah.
I did have this. Oh no, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I did have that with season 1. Season 1, I think there are some times where the directing is too over the top. So like it's kind of like you're constantly feeling like the intensity is on the gas pedal all the time, and for some of the moments it doesn't really live up to that intensity, and then you kind of are like, okay, like I get it, kind of chill a bit.
No, I definitely agree with season 1 more than the later seasons because I didn't watch all of season 1, but I remember like what was it, the courthouse, like the trial scene towards the last few episodes of season 1. I just like happened to tune into those, and it was just like so intense, but like comically like intense that it just didn't really fit, what I had read in the manga. But after that, I don't know, it wasn't like it didn't seem out of place.
Yeah, so I'm more inclined to agree with the take I read, and this one where they're like using the Beast Titan throwing rocks and horses is like brings them out of it. That doesn't really strike me because I think the Beast Titan was utilized really well. So I don't really agree with that one as much, but I think this is a pretty fair take.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I don't know if it's like super hot, but it's fair. Weirdy says this feels like a complaint someone would have for Gintama. Just you wait. Just you wait. So I think we should move on unless anyone else has anything to say on this. I mean, I like the bombast of Attack on Titan, and I think it works really well for the series.
Don't get me wrong. I do think Attack on Titan needs to have the bombast. So I do think it needs that, but I do understand how it can ruin some of the ruin some of the more grounded moments. Understandable.
Yeah. All right, let's go on to the next one. Fingers crossed that we can read it. If not, we will zoom out.
We will.
Okay, so this one is actually really long.
Okay, get ready, guys. This one is the essay. You guys thought we had wiki entries before? We got the whole wiki in one shot.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, you thought we treaded this territory before? You haven't seen this.
Okay. So this is also, I don't have confirmation, but I don't think Tay submitted this. So there are more than one person out there that are not a fan of March Comes In Like a Lion. Okay, let's go. Okay. March Comes In Like a Lion is one of the most wildly overrated anime I've ever watched. Ray as a character just does not work for me. I feel like he is less of a character and more of a conduct that the author uses to explore depression through. There is almost nothing remarkable or interesting about him as a character, especially in the earlier parts of season 1. I have almost nothing to say about him apart that he is nice and inoffensive. He's just way too vapid and bland, and I assume this is done to allow him to be easily projected upon. The whole water/depression motif of him drowning and suffocating is overused way too much, and it's not even particularly profound or creative. It's one of the most overused motifs I've seen in fiction. The whole I cannot breathe shtick gets so repetitive that it dulls the impact of the scene more and more as it goes on. For a series so intent and animate on showing the nuances in its characters and how almost everyone operates in a morally gray area, the Kawamoto household sticks out like a sore thumb. Way too perfect and infallible. The only flaws Araki has as a character is that she is insecure about whether she is doing a good enough job filling in for her late mother. And that is hardly a flaw at all. It's like going to a job interview, being asked what your flaws are, and answering, I think I might be too hard of a worker. That's just really funny. Good comment. The female characters in the show are almost Shakespearean in their writing. You have the plucky young woman Hina, the scheming femme fatale Kyoko, who is completely underutilized, by the way, and the Virgin Mary Araki. They adhere to these archetypes so stringently that they end up being mostly boring or entirely cliche. Every time the cats come on screen, I feel seriously uncomfortable and they gross me out. The shoji song genuinely haunts me to this day. Also, this may seem like a silly argument, but if it were not for Shaft's directing and the VA performances, I would have genuinely zero clue about what the fuck is going on in any of the matches being played. And even with Shaft's grand direction and good VA performances, I still really struggle to work out what the shit is happening. Crazy thought, if you are going to write a story about shogi, at least explain some of the basics of shogi in an easily digestible way that isn't some bizarre Lewis Carroll-esque cat song sing-along. Unlike in other sports series where you can even without understanding all the rules, still garner what is going on, i.e. ball goes in hoop equals good for the team. So with shogi, at least for me, I cannot gauge how a game is going, removing all tension. Okay, so Attack on March Comes In Like a Lion. Like they're not liking it.
I can't. I don't know. Is March Comes In Like a Lion gonna win again?
I really hope not. We have more hot takes on here than that.
It's just funny because like I still have not watched this show, and I'm just getting all these anti-recommendations. Like, thanks, guys.
You get so anti-hyped on it. Sorry, like, I'm turning the more lights.
It's okay. Like my friend recommended it to me like when it was airing, like after he finished it a couple years back, and he's like, "Oh, you should watch it. You'll really like it." And all I'm getting is these anti-recommendations, like. And he had to tell me after the previous one that I was like, no, like I could see what this person is saying. I get it, but it's still amazing. I'm like, okay.
So we have Tay in the chat saying, not even I hate March Comes In Like a Lion this much. So this is not Tay. Yeah, so you should definitely still watch it. I mean, like, I think it's still worth watching. But the funny thing is, I can definitely understand this take. I 100% can understand this take, as wild as it is. I think these are maybe very extreme criticisms, but I can definitely see it. I could see not liking Ray because they think he's too much like depression, the character. The Kawamotos are kind of infallible, which is kind of my issue with them. It's not like I hate them or anything. I just don't find them particularly interesting myself.
I just feel like I think his gripe with it, and I could be wrong about this, with March Comes In Like a Lion is like maybe it's like too on the nose as this character represents this and this character represents that. So I kind of want to see this person just go in on classic literature.
Yeah, but I think just for whoever wrote this, I think saying that they're Shakespearean, I don't think that has the use that you intend it to have. Like that doesn't have the same meaning. I know they're saying they're very tropey, but like that's not what calling something Shakespearean in nature means. So yeah, but by the time you watch March Comes In Like a Lion, you're probably going to be like, this is the best anime ever. Why are these people complaining when like 99% of the people like it and you've met like all 3 of them who don't?
Yeah.
This is very hot. This is a ghost pepper hot take that puts Taze to shame.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to read through the Shakespearean thing again. I'm like,
that's not what that's definitely not what that means.
I don't think that means what you think it means.
Yeah, I don't think so. But A+ for effort. Good job. writing that all out. Amy is so funny in chat. She's like, Shaw, you cut out for a bit. Can you read it all again? Thank you.
Yeah. No,
I think this is the best hot take we've gotten. Like, this is the hottest take. Like, they went all in, so this is my favorite hot take we've gotten.
Yeah, no, I think this is no holds barred. This is it.
They went in. This was
This
a
is
therapy
peak.
session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're working through it.
We did
Working through
good.
it.
So I think
All right.
I didn't even get to see what chat said because I was reading. Yeah, everyone agrees with me. Everyone agrees. The best hot take. No one has any disagreement. We're all in the same.
Weirdy says not enough incest to be Shakespeare.
Very true. Very true. Wait, is this you, Tom? Oh, if this is Tom, good call. This is it. This is it. Yeah, you might have won.
Oh.
I think we need, if this ends up winning, I think we need our community to not like March comes in like a lion as much because we need more diversity in hot takes.
Yeah, I mean, like, what I really appreciate this take is that they really, really went in on explaining each thing, and a lot of the takes just kind of leave it as, you know, sort
Thing
of
is
like
mid.
thing is mid for, you know, some superficial reason. This was like, no, let me give you an actual breakdown of why and this and that. Yeah. All right, so let's see if we've got anything hotter. I don't think we've got anything. I think this is the longest take.
This is definitely the longest one.
Yeah.
Yep. I think we do have some hotter ones technically.
Yeah.
What did
So
I made like weird comments in our. I put everything in a Google Doc and I made weird comments.
Oh, I enjoyed the comments. They're really
Thank you.
funny.
It was like one was like I had a stroke reading this. Like
Yeah. But let's continue. All right. Next one. Yeah, I think this is the whole take. Okay.
Okay, so reading it out for audio listeners. I'm sorry, guys. My recent visual novel arc. I just combined the whole word. Narc. It's incorporated visual novel takes into our content, but here it is.
I can read this one considering I haven't played visual novels, so you'll have more to say about it than me. But visual novels suffer from trying to be like video games. The concept of a novel combined with a soundtrack and some great character art sounds fantastic on paper, but most VNs suck because of one thing: pointless RPG-like choices. Nothing takes me out of a story quicker than making a wrong choice, followed by a pointless what-if scenario that leads to the protagonist's death, followed by loading the last save and skipping to the choice again. It's a waste of time, and it's immersion breaking. Bless VNs like Fata Morgana that don't do this.
You want to know why we included this take? Fata Morgana does this. So, like, there are multiple points where you click the wrong thing, and then you get a bad end, and then you're done, and you had to load it again. So,
that was the funniest comment. One of the funniest comments on Shaw on the Google Doc. It was just like, Fata does this.
Fata does this. So, and I love Fata. So, like, I'm not harping on it. I mean, it just literally does this. And I think you guys will see some of the takes we have will be like, kind of, you either contradict yourself mid-take or you kind of explain the reason behind your take in the take. And this is one of those where they kind of contradict themselves. I'm sorry to the person who wrote this because all I could take away from this was like, Fata Morgana does this. So I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
As for the pointless RPG-like choices, I disagree because, I mean, it's like kind of there's so many times where it's like you make this choice and this is the path you go down, and you make this choice and this is the path you go down. So like, you know, I mean, that's kind of like a crucial part of visual novels and RPGs in general. And I think it's like a very crucial storytelling technique for video games. So yeah, I mean, I disagree with that. I think there's a lot to criticize visual novels on because they are in that weird, awkward, like, are they a video game? Are they a book? I don't know, like kind of the best, kind of the worst of both in a way. But
yeah, they're just trying to be more of an experience where, you know, you kind of, it's like an interactive book.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So like, I think there's a lot to criticize them from, but like, this is probably not it, especially when your example actually does this. So, better look next time.
Because the other thing is like, if you didn't have the RPG like choices, what mechanic would you have in it that would make it a game or anything to it? It would just be reading.
I remember I had these clue books when I was a kid, and they even had like multiple endings in the clue book for like what could have happened. And I know the original Clue movie has multiple endings for the same mystery. And that I always
Okay.
thought that was kind of cool, even though, it's not like the most immersive where they're like, fast forward at this point to get to the other ending. But I thought it was kind of cool that you could have a story with multiple endings. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think I disagree both. I think I disagree with everything. I think it's not a hot take though. I think some people feel like this. They just have like,
Yeah, I've heard something like this before.
yeah,
Like, do visual novels suffer from this?
it might
I
just
don't
be
know.
they might just hate RPGs too. It sounds like they just don't like the mechanic.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
but they like
because
it in Fata. They like it in Fata more.
here's a
Now.
question: Does in visual novels do the choices immediately lead to like a bad end, like, or is it kind of like after a while? Like, would you not know until like hours later?
I think it varies, but I think I think most of them are very like quick about it. I think they're very like, yeah, the game's over now. You reach this ending, and that's what happens with Fata with the bad endings they have. Like it ends pretty quickly, and it's like ending whatever, and then
Yeah.
you go back to your save and you start over. But you can
Yeah.
also fast forward the parts, so it's not like I don't know. You can fast
Yeah.
forward once you load, so
Yeah.
you're not replaying the whole game again.
Yeah, it doesn't waste your time as much. It's a little bit
No.
more efficient where you can just kind of go through it.
If anything, I think it highlights how important the right choices are more because you know what's at stake if you pick wrong.
Yeah.
So,
And also, if you pick up a visual novel, you should kind of know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
You're kind of, it's mostly just going to be for the story and kind of getting the choices and like,
yeah.
yeah. All right, next one. Okay.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Do you want to read the full thing or should I do it? It's at the end.
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah,
Okay.
because this is just the first part, and this has like 3 points that it made. So, okay. So basically, the take is the anime community should stop giving so much importance to author interviews. So the reasons being that putting so much weight in interviews is especially prevalent in the anime community. I have lost count of how many times I've seen an interpretation of an anime be considered debunked by a fandom, not because of the content in the show, but because an interview about the author's intent. I've also seen cases of an author debunking theories about their current running story in interviews before even presenting the reason why the theory doesn't work in their own story. For example, the author of ReZero and some Satala theories. Expanding on the lore so the second point is expanding on the lore or on the other characters and things like that during interviews also don't work because for one, most people won't see that, and two, things authors say in interviews are usually not as well planned out as what appears in the main story, since it doesn't pass through an editorial process or is as polished by the author. It's also commonly made up on the spot. And lastly, what I'm saying is that the comments from an author interview are no different than the random retcons J.K. Rowling does on Twitter. They both come from random thoughts of the author that weren't included in the original story, and most people won't know about. And if we usually don't consider random tweets valid additions to the canon of a story, then author comments should also not be treated as canon, especially if you subscribe to Death of the Author like me.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think I agree with this. I always like author comments, but yeah, I think I really like this just because I think people do place too much importance on author interviews because people kind of look to those as the answers instead of the series themselves, and I don't really like that as a practice. Like as they kind of said, the J.K. Rowling tweets are probably the worst example of her just like, what is it like after like adding things after the fact that have like no real bearing on the story, which is like, okay, like stop. But then I do think it's kind of annoying because I've seen stuff from like Watanabe interview on Cowboy Bebop that kind of contradicts some takes on the ending, and the same with the Code Geass creator commenting on the ending too, when both of those are kind of, they present their own ideas on what the ending is and people have fun speculating on them. And I don't think they should turn to the directors for confirmation.
Yeah. And I feel like also the directors are in a different frame of mind when they're, actively producing it and creating it, as opposed to when, years later or something, or even months later, they've had time to sit on it, think about it. And it's like, it's just sort of different from what they probably originally intended.
And as Anti-Cycle AN in chat says, this take feels aimed at Ava fans who reference Hideaki Anno. I think that's possibly true too. I mean, he's said a lot in interviews, and I think it is one of those series where like people should take the content of the work at face value and come to their own conclusions rather than, always go back to what the author said. But the caveat is I've seen some people make some wild ass takes that completely contradict the original content. And I think like the death of the author only goes so far. Like I know a certain controversial YouTuber who comes out with videos that ignite the community, who I won't name. They kind of came out with a video and they said, canon content only goes so far. And I disagree with that, because they were just saying like, we should ignore canon content when it fits our feelings. And I disagree with that, where you can't just start saying like A, B, and C happened in a story when X, Y, and Z happened,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't want to get too much into Ava because this take is going to come later. But I can see this. I've looked a lot to author interviews before to kind of get sort of what was intended with what they were trying to do. But at the same time, I've always kind of thought to myself also, like, if it's like this hard to get that without having read some external source, was it executed well in the first place? Because you kind of have to see how it works within the story. If you can't pick it up from there, from what was actually written or drawn or whatever medium it is, then was it actually done well? So
I do like author interviews when they have like fun facts or like references or, inspirations, or like when they talk about their favorite characters. I think that's fine. I just don't like it when, I agree with this, I don't like it when it's kind of like correcting the content that they made,
Yeah, I feel like there's a balance with this. I think like it's valid, again, like what you were saying earlier, when people don't kind of come up with wild ass theories about what a work is trying to say, when it's not even remotely, or wild speculation when it's not even remotely what the work is trying to, aim for. And then like the only way you can get them to listen would be like, okay, well then listen to the author. At least here's this interview where he at least confirmed, what it's actually trying to do. Because then they won't listen to any other reason. But in other cases where, like if that's all you point to, then that doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I think we all agree on this one, kind of.
Yeah. So is it a hot take?
To people who like author interviews, yeah.
Yeah. LoveX says in the chat, author interviews should be an extra bit of content rather than fans taking it as important as the actual canon.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a good way to sum it up. So let's move on to the next one.
So close and yet so far.
I also think this is a good point. It can ruin ambiguity.
Yeah. I do think this is actually a hot take. Okay, so they say the Nina thing and FMAB is sad, sure, but people act like it's the most horrifying thing they've ever seen. I can agree that it's horrifying conceptually, but there's no real emotional connection with Nina for it to really hit. And to make things even hotter, I find Nina incredibly grating in general, and she's even more annoying in FMA 03. Children don't act like this. LOL, she's so irritating. Her innocence and sweetness is just so damn contrived. That's a hot take, I think, because I know the Nina thing in FMAB, like, that fucks people up for sure. Like, that's like a thing. Like, that's a staple of the anime community. This
is a hot take. I mean, I've seen the other take before where it's saying like the dad wasn't, like, from the other side, that her father or whatever was not as fucked up or something, or maybe people like that compare other bad fathers in anime to him. Okay, you know what? It's not even remotely a similar take. Never mind. Yeah.
But I mean, like, I think I thought it was pretty horrifying, but I was also not like connected to Nina, both in FMAB and O3. I didn't really give that much of a shit about her character. I think it's a lot more of what she represents of the horrors of alchemy and kind of that like moment of innocence that was lost for Ed and Al. That was like a reminder that, alchemy is being misused by people that they looked up to as well. So I think it's definitely more symbolic and more emotional for them for their journey than like the actual character of Nina. But yeah, I mean, it's just interesting because it's like they're like, also fuck Nina, she's annoying and I hate her. So it's an interesting take.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think it's definitely hot. I definitely think, like, similar to you, it's not really, you don't have to connect that much with Nina. She was just more of the effect of like a child, kind of this horrible thing happening to her. So she, I think she accomplished the attendant effect of just being shocked and horrified and whatever. Kind of after that, it's just like someone, I think it's ClassFac said in the chat, or like she's a meme at this point, because it's just been, it's kind of so old at this point and it's just kind of been spammed to hell. But in the original intent, when you're watching it, it fits that. So
yeah, I do think finding her really annoying and grating is probably the hotter take. That's probably where people are like, oh, but she was a cute kid. So
this person does not like kids.
So they just probably hate kids. So
yeah,
but I think it's a hot take because I think most people would agree that it's like a very jarring thing. I think it's kind of like a landmark jarring moment, especially the way people have reacted. So I think the reason it's been memed to death is because it's so horrifying and it's, an entry-level anime for so many. So it's just kind of like a staple in the community.
Yeah, like to just say this Show Tucker is like a horrible father. So,
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's a hot take.
I think it's a hot take. Yeah.
I think it's hot. So keep that one on the back burner.
Yeah. To answer Jimmy, was a take on Howl's Moving Castle discussed yet? Not yet, but now we know who you are.
Yeah, now we know.
Reveal yourself. Now we know what you did. So, and I did want to add something to the previous take, but you know what? There's another take coming up and I'll mention it there.
Moving on ahead. That actually, it's kind of funny how the takes will come back together. You can spin it, but I was just saying.
Blend together.
They're going to blend together at some point.
All right, audio listeners. This one is anime fandom is too high on time travel as a concept, and there are a number of shows that receive high praise just because they use it as a mechanic. Great time travel anime certainly exists, and it can be executed well. For example, Steins Gate. But I think there is a positive reaction to almost every time travel show, even when they aren't necessarily good. Remake Our Life and Tokyo Revengers, at least the anime only, are two recent ones that come to mind. Fans see X character, older or younger, and go crazy even when the cause and effect makes no sense and feels fabricated to fit the plot. I personally don't know about this one. I don't know. What about you?
Amethyst said that's Shaw pandering at the start, and I agree, but I think it's I disagree with their reasoning at the end, but I think this is why I'm kind of like, I feel like kind of a snob in this sense, but I feel like there's a difference between a time travel series that is like focused on time travel versus a series that incorporates time travel. And that's like it might not seem like a big difference, but
there's a nuance. I think there's definitely a distinction.
Yeah. Like in something like Steins Gate and Girl Who Leapt Through Time, those are series that like focus on the time travel mechanics as part of the plot. And they both have that same sense of like messing with time bad, you fuck everything up, don't do that kind of thing. Whereas something like Erased, I don't know about Tokyo Revengers yet, but possibly like Erased, ReZero, as far as I know, like they don't really go into the details of how the time travel works or like, it's not as much of a focus as much of like a means to an end. So I think the reason that people like it so much is because it makes everything more complicated and adds like an interesting spin to it. But if the content itself isn't interesting, then it can feel kind of cheap and gimmicky, which is what I think they're getting at. Yeah. I'm not sure how much of it is like they see a character being older or younger. I don't know how much of that is incorporated, but so I don't think that's as much of it as much as people see time travel and they're immediately intrigued because it means that there's going to be some complexity going on.
I mean, most people don't know that Tokyo Revengers is a time travel show. I've seen people react like, wait, it's about time travel? It's like, I I mean, because it's more or less like a mechanic within the show, but it's about other things. It's just sort of like, it's not the complete focus.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm not praising it. I'm not praising it.
No, I know what you mean. I didn't know
it.
about it at first too, and then I was like, oh, that's time travel involved, and I was like, please stop comparing it to my shows.
I've always thought time travel in general is always just a fascinating concept to incorporate into any type of show, medium, TV, movie. I just think it's cool because everyone is like intrigued by that concept of time travel. The only thing is you have to be very careful when you choose to use time travel because it's very easy to fuck up and very easy to not be consistent with the mechanics. And like, there are just some things that don't make sense. There are some things in Tokyo Revengers that doesn't completely make sense with the time travel. And that was like very early on. It was like, that doesn't, why does he know that when, you know, like stuff like that.
Yeah. So. And I think where it really gets hairy is when they go back and forth a lot. When it's not just like you time travel once and then you kind of move forward with that. When they can jump back and forth, like with Tokyo Revengers, that's when you're kind of like, okay, this is like a bit lame, you know?
Weirdy says, this was interesting. Time travel is a genius way of reusing resources.
Oh, that's true though. That is true. And yeah, so I think it really depends, but I think some people I do think the general premise of this where people will say like, oh, there's time travel, so it's good. I do think that happens a lot. And I think it just really depends. Like sometimes when time travel is used, it's cool. And sometimes when it's used, it's really contrived and overly complicated and doesn't necessarily help the original series. Like, I think just thinking back to Erased, I don't love Erased because I don't love Erased, actually. That's the end of the sentence. I don't love Erased. But Erased was never good because there was time travel. Erased was good because they nailed the emotional feelings of like being in an abusive household and seeing someone who never had love and affection being shown like very basic courtesy and then being emotional over it. Like that heart of Erased is what made it good. No one really cared about the time travel aspect, you know?
Yeah. And also I sometimes forget that Madoka has time travel in it.
And I think that's a good use of it, but that's also a good example. Like Madoka has time travel, but it's not a time travel series. Yeah. You know?
Doesn't Haruhi have time travel too?
Yeah, I think Disappearance is
yeah. But you don't really think of it as that because it's not the main focus. It's just one arc.
Yeah.
Or two arcs because Endless 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in terms of the take itself, like anime fandom is like just sort of any time travel anime they'll give a pass to, you know, or say it's like amazing. Do you agree with that?
I mean, I guess so. I think sometimes, I don't know. I'm just thinking of the most recent series that like, I don't know. I think it really does depend. I think my only thing is when people are kind of comparing time travel mechanics and they're like, yeah, this one, like something like, I'm using Erased, but I think it's kind of similar to Tokyo Revengers, which is like the more recent talking point. But like Erased never had good time travel mechanics. They didn't try to explain it. It was very happenstance. Like it was not good. Like, you shouldn't compare that to something like Steins Gate or Girl Who Leapt Through Time where like they make the focus the time travel mechanics. So some of them like just aren't even really about that. And that's where I'm like, you know, I don't know. I just think they're in different categories and I don't think the community puts them in different categories when they should. So that's where I stand.
I just don't think there's been enough time travel anime to make this take. I don't know. I just don't think there has been like that much.
Yeah, I think we should just all acknowledge Steins Gate as the undisputed best time travel show and call it a day.
I think if we're going to oversaturate a genre like isekai, we got to just start doing with time travel. Come on, give me more of those. Give me more of those.
I agree. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's start it here. This is where it starts,
right
guys.
Now. Right? This take.
Jess Weebs, Kickstarter. No, I'm kidding. All right, let's move on.
Kickstarter our time travel show.
Yep. All right. So, I don't know. Lukewarm, guys? Chat, let me know. What do you guys think about this one? Moving on to the next one. We still got a lot, so.
Okay. So let me explain this one. I'll read it out. Stop using the word soul/soulless to describe or critique works. What the fuck does this mean? It's so vague. It seems that people only use that term as a way to describe this good, that bad. be more precise with your critique so people know what you are actually talking about and not have to guess what you mean. That descriptor adds nothing. Okay, so this has been kind of like a talking point that I've seen both for in visual novels a bit, and then most recently with my friend Waya, who was like lukewarm on the 2011 Hunter x Hunter anime, but really like the manga. And it was kind of like they said that the anime was soulless compared to the manga, which had more soul. And the way I interpret it is they mean more personality, more nuance, more unique aspects. But I've seen people call some stuff that I think looks like absolutely ass as like more soulful. And that's when I'm like, we got to pump the brakes at some point. Like sometimes it just looks really bad. Like sometimes it just looks bad, even though it has more personality. It might not actually have more personality. And sometimes it just looks bad.
Yeah, soul is just kind of like, it feels like an excuse to just sort of justify something looking bad.
And,
oh, it has more soul.
Yeah, like I'm not going around defending Yuasa art styles as soulful. Like I'm not going to do that. Like the Yuasa art style I think is good when it's more simplified and rough because it works for the fluidity of the animation and the symbolic nature of his series, where a lot of times it'll be like a very, very straightforward drawing, but then it'll be utilized in different ways. And that's why I defend his art styles a lot, because I think it's used in creative ways. I'm not going around being like, yeah, the Yuasa character designs are Kyoto Animation level because they have more soul. Like there's a lot more to it. But I think the bigger point here that I agree with is that people need to do a better job with their critiques and describing what they mean.
Yeah, I don't know if this is so much a take, though, as much as it is like a call out. But
it's just a call out. It's just a subtweet via our podcast.
I haven't experienced this too much, so I'd love to just hear some more specific examples. If this person was somehow in the chat or anyone that can give me some examples of soul and soulless.
I got this. Okay, you are so unbiased in this. I will send these to you over Twitter. Tell me which of these you like better.
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay, get hype. Okay, so this is the big example. Actually, that looks ass. There's so many that just look so ass. Jesus. Okay. Actually, that looks worse. Okay.
While we're doing that, Anticycle AN says, I disagree. I think it's a good way to describe a show having more of the creator's passion or effort put into it.
But that's the problem is it's a bit tough to be like, okay, this person didn't put enough passion into it, Like that's a bit...
Like, how do you gauge the passion,
Yeah. So like, okay, so I'll send this. Did this say the right one? Yeah. This is a good example of, okay, so check my Twitter DM. So these are the two Yumi Neko sprites, which are like the character models that appear when you're talking. The first one on the left is the original one that the author drew. You can see very bare bones, very like, I don't want to say it, amateurish. I'm sorry. That's how I feel. I think I could draw it. I'm not trying to disrespect him. Great author, but I don't think it looks that good. The one on the right is the model that was used for the PS3. So just off the bat, which do you think looks better?
I don't know, Shaw. I mean, I like how much soul the one on the left has, Jokes aside, I've seen this before. Not the comparison, but I've seen like the other art style, and I just didn't know what it was. And my first visceral gut reaction when seeing it was like, oh, I thought it looked better than this. Like, where is this from? I thought it looked, and so that's how I felt when seeing it.
Yeah, I just think my full response is like the one on the left. I don't think it communicates emotions as well. I don't think it communicates the facial expressions as well. And that's like a constant thing is like you're reading this thing for 200 hours. They have a multitude of facial expressions. And I think you need the more detailed, clean looking art to better portray that. So
the right one is a lot cleaner. Like I would not play the game if it was the left one. Sorry.
Yeah. And some people are like dead fast defenders of the left one. They're like, it has more soul to it. And I'm like, no, like, I don't think it has more soul.
Yeah. Cause even then you have to kind of actively work to convey soul, as part of whatever you're doing. Does this term at all come from like the whole Gynax soul thing, or no?
I don't think so. I wish it did. I wish there was more association with cool stuff, but not really.
Yeah.
So I agree with this take. I think people need better words, and I think they need better words to explain their opinion on things. And I think it is a bit presumptuous to say that something that's a bit more polished and maybe more traditional looking has less artistic passion put into it, but that compared to something that might be a bit rougher and I don't know, just something different. So
yeah. Kage Pro has a good example, good take here. Saying anything has soul or no soul assumes the emotions of the creator, which many people just don't know, and that's it. We don't know. We don't know if they tried their hardest and that's all they could, do. Doesn't mean it has less soul or more soul. So.
And I love Weirdy8 summing up my point. Having more soul is me being able to doodle it. That's essentially my summation. So yeah.
All right, but if anyone has any clear other examples, if you still disagree, just let us know in the chat. But we're gonna move on to the next one, and hopefully it's the one I have been thinking about. So.
Wait, which one? We have a lot. We're a lot looking forward to. Okay. So we got a couple Johan ones.
Yeah, I only included this one because I like the other one too, but I figured we could just bring it up as an explanation if we need it or more.
Do you want to go? You want to read this one?
Yeah. Let me just also pull up the other one just in case.
Number 21. Control.
That helps a lot, actually. I was doing command find.
Yeah, me too. It wasn't working.
All right. I feel that having a direct illustration of Johan's psychology would have served Monster better as a story and Johan as a character. Something similar to Beatrice in the Confession of the Golden Witch section in the Umineko manga. And the other take that we got that was similar to this is Johan is too complex for most people. That's why they dismiss him as a nihilistic edgelord or a force of nature antagonist.
Yeah, so what do you think? I think I've jumped in head first for a lot of these. So what's your take on this?
So I haven't encountered much of the discourse surrounding Monster because I watched Monster a long time ago and by myself and whatever. So I never saw people's reactions to it. So this is the first time I'm seeing of it that Johan didn't work as well for people. And I don't know. I guess I could understand how they wanted to see more of his psychology, but I think what helped, I think Johan still served his purpose as a good antagonist because you never really knew what he was fully thinking, and that's also what made him terrifying.
Yeah, thinking about it, I think I couldn't actually disagree with one of the takes we've had more, especially with the follow-up take. Well, yeah, the follow-up take says Johan is too complex for people, which is why they dismiss him. When Johan is one of the most celebrated antagonists who is not dismissed in the slightest. He's a common favorite among people. It's a very hot take to not have him as a well-received antagonist. I think it's pretty fair to say he's universally beloved. So I don't think he's too complex for people. And
that's the part I didn't get. I was like, how is he too complex? I never found him too complex. I just found myself wanting to know more.
Yeah, he's mysterious. And I think the whole point of Monster is the whole story of it is a direct, study of his psychology. It's the whole story is looking through the events of his life, people he's known, people he's met, people who have influenced him, and trying to solve the mystery of what led him to be the person he is today. This, he is a nihilistic person, but kind of the embodiment of evil. What is it that set him off? And trying to solve that mystery, I think, is the appeal of Monster for me. So,
yeah, and it's more of Tenma's journey and sort of kind of reconciling a bunch of those things in his head, that this monster can exist and sort of, doing the right thing. And that's what makes the hunt for Johan so intense.
Yeah, and that's what I think is so compelling as a mystery series too, because that's a big part of it is what is it that set him off? What is it that broke his connection with humanity and society? And I think trying to solve that is what makes him so interesting. And the fact that we get a lot of big hints, but no real clear-cut answer per se, no one being this is why he did it, is what makes it such an interesting series to speculate on, and an interesting character that's captured so many people. So
it's the ambiguity. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, as you're right, as you said, the ambiguity serves him. So this is a hot take, but I think the reasoning behind it is very flawed, and I disagree with I don't think it's accurate, because it's also not that many people are displeased by Johan. Most people love him. So
now I just want to understand this a little more because I didn't play Umineko and you did,
Yeah.
and I think Beatrice is one of your favorites.
Yeah.
What are they referring to here? Like, what did they do with her that worked in that wouldn't work for Johan? Just so I get a clearer picture.
this is also kind of a funny thing because without spoiling it, the actual breakdown of her character in the last part, you know, like there's different episodes which you could say are like story arcs, so to speak. Like the actual breakdown of her was not included in the original visual novel because one of the main themes of the series is that you need to have empathy and do the legwork to understand people. So they didn't even really include it because part of the point is figuring out the character yourself. Yeah. And they kind of added more context in the manga of the last version, which I think really helps and serves them well. But yeah, so this is also kind of like they include this as kind of like an addendum to like additional content to help people. But like the whole point of her character is really like figure it out yourself, which I think still applies to Johan. So even her character is so different from Johan that I don't think it's a fair comparison, and I don't think having that would be good or necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like some people do struggle to, because you know we're not psychopaths, we're not serial killers. I hope most of us are sociopaths. So good branding. A lot of them struggle to kind of understand like how a person could think like this or not have any feelings or any something towards humans or like other humans or be so heartless, and so like they kind of want to kind of understand more about that about Johan, but then that also kind of would ruin it because it's one, it would be spelling it out, and two, part of the appeal is kind of just like we said before, that ambiguity of not knowing what he's thinking and not knowing, like Tenma doesn't know, that when he's gonna come next, what he's gonna do, you would feel bad for him, or you'd start understanding him, and it would just have a different effect.
Yeah, I think I agree with you completely. It is part of the journey. So yeah, I think at some point it's like you kind of got to think for yourself on that point. Like if you don't connect with him because you don't like what's being presented, that's fair. But like sometimes you got to choose your own adventure with this one.
Yeah. All right, let's go on to the next one.
Okay, so this one says animation peaked in the 90s, especially the OVAs and movies from that decade. A lot of newer anime look mediocre in comparison. This is an age-old classic hot take. Got to bring one back for the homies. Like animation better in the 90s. We kind of talked about this a bit offline, and I think it just serves as like an interesting discussion because I think we both came to the same conclusion. But
yeah, like. Thoughts? We were kind of on the fence about including this one because we were just like, I don't know if it's like that much of a hot take. Like it is, but then it's like also a lot of people have sort of said this before, right?
Yeah.
But I thought it's interesting because it's like, I wish they gave a few more specific examples because it's easy to cherry pick, kind of what was the greatest looking anime in the 90s and say, hey, those look better than what's out now. But then what are the newer ones that look mediocre? Are we talking about like the seasonal stuff that's kind of just mass produced and looks like whatever? And are we just discounting the ones that do look amazing, like a Dragon Maid, like a KyoAni work?
Yep.
And then if we're saying like, oh, KyoAni's not fair, their work is always great, there's still a bunch of other ones that from other studios that look just as awesome. So again, I don't know if the argument's more about like the amount. Maybe they're saying like the amount in the 90s that looked good there was more, even though more anime is being produced nowadays than back then. So
yeah, I mean, it feels very nitpicky and biased. I think it's very cherry picked. Like, so let me use an example because us 90 kids, we're chock full of them. So I remember randomly seeing this random ecchi series called like Those Who Hunt Elves, where they go around and have to hunt elves to try and find a way to get back home. Whatever. It's a dumb series. It was kind of funny. That show looked absolutely ass. Are they talking about that average show that no one remembers, or Cowboy Bebop, which has some of the best like animation of all time? Like, there is a huge jump between those two series. And are they comparing Cowboy Bebop to like, as you said, average seasonal anime, because that's not really fair. Like, we got to take the best of the best and kind of compare them across the board.
And another. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, finish your thought.
No, that was kind of it.
You sure? Okay.
Yep.
Because the other, I was just going to say that the other beloved one from the 90s that was kind of as revered as Cowboy Bebop, but I have heard that it doesn't hold up as well animation-wise nowadays when you watch it, is Outlaw Star.
Yeah, I heard that one is not that good looking. And I even have some gripes with like Trigun. I don't think that's the best looking series of all time. Not saying it's bad, but like I don't think that would hold up that well.
And the other question to this take is like, when you say animation, right? Do you mean, fluidity, motion, actually what animation means? Or is this person confusing it with character models and art styles? And then, like I could see that. Or even the designs. Maybe they just don't like the newer. Maybe they felt like the designs back then were more distinctive, for the character designs and the character models, and now they feel more samey.
Yeah. Yeah, I think chat is going crazy. They oh, look at this. Oh, Those Who Hunt Elves had the same director as the Big O. Hey, funny. But I have to get back into that. Those Who Hunt Elves stream. That's a funny series. I'm just saying.
I don't think I watched it, and I never finished the Big O. So
I didn't start that one, but yeah. I think I'm with you. It's kind of like what we were talking about with Berserk 97. Like the animation, not that fluid, but the direction, the background art, the character designs, like everything works really well. But I think if anything, animation, it might be better currently, but I think maybe there's some lackluster background art or character designs or art direction. Maybe that's where it hasn't hit as much. I don't know. But I do wonder with you, it's like, are they talking about animation or just anime in general or like aesthetic,
Yeah. And Thurs makes a good point. I'd say peak animation in any age still holds up. Yeah. Only for everything now, we haven't had the time to filter shows.
Yeah. I think like my favorite piece of animation in terms of like animation is Akira that came out in 1988, I think. So like that animation holds up amazingly well. And you get kind of like the counter boomer bias where they're like, oh, it old art style look bad. And I think that's really dumb. But I don't think you can brush off how good animation looks currently in the same way that some people brush off the old art style. So goes both ways.
I only watched Princess Mononoke recently, like a few months ago for the first time. And I was just blown away by how good it looked. But I understand why it looks so good. Besides, it's a movie, it's an anime movie, and that's treated as sort of different from TV anime, different, levels of animation. Also, Ghibli always wants to do their animation kind of frame by frame. Like they want to spend the time, and it's hand drawn. It's not digital. They only didn't switch to digital until recently, and that's why it takes them years. So that's kind of different ballgame.
I agree.
Or like the chat is saying, cell animation. So yeah.
Yep. Wild. Good job. The chat is riled up. I think this is a hot take just because this got the people going. So
yeah, this is it. This is one of the hot takes.
Very hot one.
If you are watching and you are the one that submitted this, we need an explanation. We need some clarity. So let us know if you're in the chat. Show yourself.
Need clarity.
Yeah.
Yeah. But on to the next one. So we got many more.
Shaw's like, I'm done. Too many.
No, it's just there's so many. So we included this as if the people are not tired of me talking about Mushoku Tensei enough.
We're back here again.
First off, let me defend it for a second. Lolicon, main character or not, has nothing to do with how it looks, so that's irrelevant. But thank you for adding your snarkiness. So this is like kind of disregarding this. This goes back into our discussion we just had. But what do you think are the best looking anime in the past few years? And do you think Mushoku Tensei is up there?
And let's do like past 5 years.
Past 5 years. Okay. Because if we're just doing few and holding it to 2, that's a bit different.
Well, okay. Chat. If it's few, then 3. Past 3 years.
Okay. So chat. Yeah. So as someone mentioned in the chat, Violet Evergarden. Do you think it's on Violet Evergarden levels?
And that's the other thing. Because I was talking about this with Shaw offline. Before we were looking at it, and I'm like, if they don't want to include KyoAni because they think, KyoAni, all their stuff is great, there's still other stuff that looks really good. That's
And I don't even mean it as like disrespect to Mushoku Tensei because I think it looks good, but I don't think it looks like best of the past couple years good. You know what I mean?
They're acting like it's like a barren wasteland out here, and we're just like,
Yeah.
please, may I have some more? Like,
Yeah.
there's more. There's other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like we're taking Kyoani out of the discussion because we're taking that as a handicap. Like
Class
Mob
Fact
Psycho-
brings up Dynazenon. That was this year.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Megalobox 2 looked great. That was this year.
What like Great Pretender. I was thinking of that right before this.
Yes.
Great Pretender. Yeah, I mean, like the list kind of goes on. I mean,
I will say, I think Mushoku Tensei, I agree, it looks great. I feel like it's a very special production. They spent their time on it. You can see the care in it. It does look good. I'm not denying that. But to say it's like one of like the only ones or the best one, it's like, I don't know.
Weirdy says, I can see the point. They literally built a studio for one show. I got a counter argument to that one because they made a studio for Drifters, and that was one of the worst series I've ever seen. So that's not inherently a good thing. So just pointing that out there.
I got a counter argument for that. They made the studio for one show, and the water still does not look as good as the water in Free.
Yeah. Where's the water animation team?
The water in Free makes me thirsty. The water in this show, it looks okay. Looks salty.
Not very thirsty. And then you get even the like Hoseki no Kuni, Beastars, that might be up there too. I don't know. There's a lot. I think I could understand kind of making the point, but it's like, I don't know though. There's such strong competition. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, fam. I don't know.
They liked your Drifters take. It was good.
Thank you. I remember Drifters. But the opening is actually like really Kino, but Drifters was not a good time. Shout out to fall 2016.
You know, I didn't want to include Hoseki no Kuni because I feel like that's in its own league because it's like such a milestone for 3D animation.
Yeah.
So, but it is great.
So it's looking. This is like probably not hot, but also we just don't agree.
Yeah, I think we're just like beating this one up. Like, you know, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not up there. But it was a good attempt.
It was a good attempt, but maybe we'll have another one that's not animation related next one. We'll see. All
right, are we ready to move on, guys? Let's head to the next one. I think we're no, we still got a lot.
Oh, yeah, we have a lot. Yeah, so do you want to read this one?
Gintama. It's just not that funny. The formula of wacky random thing happens, and the humor coming from other characters shouting, "What's a gorilla doing here?" gets very worn out even by the end of the first 200 episode season, and it is relentless throughout the whole show. They never evolve past that initial style. So if you don't like that comedy, you're not gonna have a good time, no matter how well done this serious arcs are.
They had some more comments in it that
Oh, did they? Sorry.
They did more, but like, and it kind of makes more sense for why I think they kind of like contradict themselves mid-take. So I'm gonna read the full one.
Yeah, so I just tried to get as much of the initial take. Yeah.
Good summation. I'm gonna add more of what they said. They said if you don't like that comedy, you're not gonna have a good time, no matter how well done the serious arcs are. For real, the turning point that happens around the SA arc. That sounds like the Shogun arc. I'm saying that because SA has a different connotation these days. The turning point around the Shogun arc, if that happened like halfway instead of the 80% mark, that loss of the good old days might have actually had an impact. And that if I and the viewer actually missed those good old days, I think the series was comedically stronger when it was episodic. The funny thing is they say that when like season 1 is when it's episodic. It doesn't get as episodic later on. Like it kind of is, but they has more comedy arc. So I was kind of confused. And then they said, also, I think blah, blah, blah. All the 2-5 mini arcs that were pretty much just for comedy really weigh the whole thing down. I'm not saying I prefer when it's mostly serious. Gintama's sweet spot for me is when it straddles a ridiculous premise with the serious execution that the author is clearly talented at doing, namely the Kintoki, Courtesan of a Nation, and Beam Saber section. It's kind of confusing because like, well, first off, I had this kind of take when I was done. I was like, I would take like a lot of the complaints of Gintama not being funny if the people complaining about it not being funny were funny themselves. And that's what I was like.
Damn.
I've seen that just a lot on like in general, like when people complain about it, they don't do it in a funny way. And I'm like, you got to go all in. Like Gintama fans are better at roasting Gintama than Gintama haters. Like I've seen it ripped apart so much better by Gintama fans. So
I've only watched one episode of Gintama, and it wasn't even a full episode, and it was like in college, like our anime club president was he just put it on. He was just watching it for himself. I think he loves it. And then it was a random episode. They were all like going around yelling about like penises or something, and then you just kind of kept seeing like elephants like censoring it, and I just didn't get it. I didn't get what I was watching, and I was like, okay, maybe this isn't for me. And that was like.
So my follow-up take to this is a disagreement on a lot of parts. Mostly, they say that it never evolves. That is fundamentally false because it goes from the first couple hundred episodes are kind of similar where it's like wacky character doing things and making references to other series and interacting with like one-off characters, which I didn't find compelling. And a lot of the later humor is a lot more cast focused based on like the main core cast, which I think is a lot more successful because you'll have arcs where like so many different characters who normally don't interact are interacting in really funny ways. And those are the arcs that I find particularly funny. So I think that's when it's at its strongest comedy-wise. And I disagree that if you don't like the comedy, you're not going to have a good time. Disagree, because I was one of those people in season 1 who was like one episode a day in the first 200 episodes. And then as soon as I got to the Gintama apostrophe, I call it, like second season, like episode 201, I was like doing so much better with it. And I know there are so many people who have similar experiences to me where like they get to a certain point and everything just clicks for them and they feel like it's more consistently comedy wise, serious wise. So I don't like agree with this, even though I think that fundamental basis that Gintama is not that funny isn't too much of a hot take. I know a lot of people have problems with the humor, myself included at some point, but I think their reasoning behind it I didn't find accurate from my experience.
So you're saying that it's only after the first 50 episodes. This person's just saying it's 200 episodes and it's still the same thing. And you're saying that's not true.
I think the basis of like their complaints are just not accurate with like, you know, the part that they're saying is better is the episodic part of the comedy humor. And that's in the first 200 episodes. That's when most of that happens. And they use the Gintama Enchuzin as an example. Those aren't episodic. Those are arcs. And those are the parts that they're kind of criticizing. And those ones I think are actually better, even though there are some of the serious comedy arcs that just don't work as well. But I think it's just like not as accurate to the progression of the series, nor like it just doesn't match up. I don't think it matches up with what happens, you know?
Gotcha. I don't have much to say on this. I only watched that one episode.
Yeah. So I think I disagree with everything they said, even though I can respect the heart of them not liking the humor.
The soul?
I can respect the soul because Gintama is a pun on both silver balls and silver soul. So.
Wow. Okay. All right. I got to watch it.
That's probably why there's so many penis jokes.
So is this really a hot take? It's not really a hot take.
Not that. Like it's kind of hot, not too hot.
I've seen this before. Sort of this criticism.
Have I seen this before?
No. I feel like I've seen this criticism before, and I'm not even someone that watches the show.
Yeah, I think it's pretty normal. Pretty normal take. So slightly above hot. I don't know.
All right, we're gonna go on to the next one.
Yeah.
Hold on, I can fix this. There
Yay! We did it.
All right. Nanachi is the only good character in Made in Abyss Season 1. She's the only character who's actually interesting as we learn more about her. Riko is such a bland protagonist who doesn't really have that much of a personality. The OST and visuals carry the Made in Abyss anime pretty... Oh, did I cut off?
No.
Or did I miss a word?
Carries it pretty hard. Pretty hard, yeah. OST and background art carries, yeah.
Yeah, pretty hard. I think this is kind of hot.
I think it's like, so I think it's half not hot, half hot, because it's half not hot because most people don't really care about the characters that much in Made in Abyss. But I don't think the OST and visuals are the only thing that carry it, because most people are interested in the world building and setting. And some people even consider the Abyss a character in and of itself. So
Yeah.
I think the OST and visuals definitely help it a lot. Another one for best looking anime of the past couple of years, can throw that one in the
Yeah, definitely.
throw that in the running. But I don't think anyone really cared about the characters that much in season 1 besides Nanachi. So I think that part is pretty accurate, but they are discounting the aspect of the setting, which I think is most people's takeaway.
You don't care about MIDI?
I like Nanachi and MIDI, but I would never be like, the reason I'm watching Made in Abyss is the characters. You know what I mean? Until we get to Bone Daddy. Bone Daddy the goat.
Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like if I have to actively think about it, I'm like, I don't ever think of them as like my most favorite characters, but I do think they're a good entry point as like just children that are kind of want to see more of this abyss and that childlike curiosity and kind of wanting to go forward. So they're kind of, they serve their purpose. But I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's a knock against the show that they're not as memorable or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it's a knock. I think it's just like, I think it's fair. But I mean, I don't dislike the characters. I just don't think they're as much of a focus as the setting.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty true.
Yeah.
But I think they do their job in carrying the show. I wouldn't say it's just the OST and visuals.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's Thurs says, I was really interested in the mystery of the mom at the bottom of the abyss. Yeah, I was kind of interested to see kind of where what Rika was going to find, since she was so motivated to see where her mom went and what's down there. Let's see. Reg is the only one I think of is kind of bland.
Oh, I like Reg too. The more I think about it, the more I like the cast. So maybe it is the hot take. Maybe it is the hot take we were looking for.
Because they're not bad. They're cute, innocent kids that, really want to go to the bottom of the abyss. And you're just like, no, what are you doing?
Yeah, right. Like,
it only gets worse.
Yeah.
And Rico's like, Rico's thing is her fucking like curiosity. Like, she just needs to know and she needs to keep going forward. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, definitely. Yeah. And, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think that's.
All right, guys. I feel like we're all feeling lukewarm on this one, so we're gonna go to the next one.
Yeah. Okay.
I was waiting for this one.
This is what we were waiting for. Okay, I'll read it so Onimaru can answer immediately. If so many people fail to understand Ava's message or completely misinterpret it, surely it can be said that it wasn't delivered in a particularly effective way.
Onimaru. I agree. Not a hot take. Let's move on.
Okay. I agree.
I mean, like, we kind of tackled this earlier on. We were talking about the author interviews, and it's pretty much that. I feel like I've had time to think about this. And like, like a lot of the stuff for Ava, like the ending and all that stuff, a lot of people do go to read the Anno interviews and kind of what happened around it. Like you don't even have to read interviews about it anymore. It's just kind of known, it's just spread so much of what happened with the last 2 episodes that it's just like it's kind of, it makes it hard to be unbiased about like just treating it as a show if you didn't know the studio situation of knowing Anno's situation. And the fact that so many people missed that message, it's like, yeah, he was trying to hit people over the head with it and it just didn't really work. So it wasn't that effective, even if you get it and you're sympathetic to it. So I did want to bring up the point about ambiguity that we brought back up before. I do respect David Chase for the Sopranos ending and still not revealing years later in interviews, just nothing about like what he meant, what he intended, and that makes it that much stronger. So I feel like that's really well done. And Anno has just, I feel like he's contradicted himself so many times. And I don't know, I've read different interviews and they just kind of say one thing and then he's like, I'm not going to give you the answers. And then it's like, but here's this other tidbit. And it's like, okay.
Yeah. Wolf of Wall Street says this is correct and was proven by the fact that Anno had to spend 20 years making movies to explain it. And then
Thank you for summarizing it in a much funnier way. That's exactly it.
No, you guys are both good. And then Clausfox says, my hot take is that I feel like 3.0 plus 1.0 conveyed the message better than End of Evangelion. I would agree with that just in terms of like, as a movie experience, I think End of Evangelion is a lot more interesting and thought-provoking. But like, it's got to be said that a lot of people come away with that feeling very depressed and feel like it's like a sad experience.
Yeah.
Whereas 3.0 plus 1.0, everyone gets that it's a happy ending. Like no one's questioning that. So
well, the rebuilds were an attempt to just really spell it out. Like, it's the same message, spell it out. So,
but I also think to another point, I think that like other people not getting the point shouldn't inherently mean that the original thing isn't good. Like if a lot of people do get the point from Ava and then a bunch of people misinterpret it, then I don't think that's inherently a fault of the series. Like I think in chat, Kage Pro is bringing up lots of things go over people's head. Just look at how blatant Squid Game was about anti-capitalism and how many people just go, LMAO, funny kid game for money. I want to try too. So like, I think Squid Game is as like overt as possible that like, you know, capitalism pits people against each other. All these poor people are struggling for survival and they turn against each other to try and get some scraps. Like that's pretty overt and you still have people misinterpreting it. And it's like, at some point you just got to be like, look, you missed the boat. You're not really trying to get you're not either trying to get it. There's a disconnect and that's not inherently the creator's fault either.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but I also think like, was it delivered in a particularly effective way? You know, like I just feel like
it depends.
And even to his own admission, if we're taking the sources outside of the canon, is that it wasn't what he had originally. Apparently, it was what he envisioned, but then you have conflicting sources saying it wasn't. Like sort of they weren't able to do it as originally planned. So
We'll turn that one to you guys.
Yeah, but I do agree though that End of Evangelion, the End of Evangelion doesn't convey that positive message to a lot of people. So
and I'm glad that it's so. I like that it's tough to get it. I like that it's tough that it's like hidden. But as in terms of just completely conveying it in a clear way, that's definitely up for discussion.
But I think in End of Evangelion though, it's supposed to be more of a silver lining. I think Anno is very clear like that he has a very cynical view of the real world. So even though like there is like that bittersweet or like that hope at the end, at the same time he's also saying that violence and all of this stuff is cyclical. Like it's just we're gonna keep hurting each other and it's just gonna keep happening. So
for sure.
And then in 3.0 plus 1.0 he's like, all right, okay, let's remedy that. Let's be more clear about it. So anyways, next one.
This is an interesting one. I've never heard this take before, ever.
Me either.
This one is Iskandar, otherwise known as Ryder, and Fate Zero's character is very hit or miss. His dynamic with Waver is one of the best in the show light novel and is one of the best in Fate, but he's so preachy about things he has no clue about. I'm going to read the full one. We got a mini essay, but not too much. Not too much of an essay. I forget which one this is. Where'd it go? So we get to the like essay section. Okay. He's so preachy about things he has no clue about. He claims that a king should never consider a path other than the one that they take, only to suggest a path that Saber should have taken. It's just him ripping off a Machiavellian speech and asking you to take his word for it. He never explains why his image of a king is ideal, and his entire point is made moot by Lancelot, who reminds Artoria that she was the only king fit to repel the Saxons and let her country die gracefully. That's nothing to say of how awful of a state he left his own country after he died. At least he's sort of able to admit he's a hypocrite, but that just comes way too late. This is a very interesting take that I think they're not actually criticizing. Well, I think this is an interesting point of discussion because, ideals and philosophies is at the core of Fate Zero. And one of my kind of points is that one of the points I feel like is that I think Fate Zero can be a bit too one-sided in the philosophies that it wants to co-sign and highlight and the ones it wants to kind of criticize. Like the series goes all in on criticizing Saber's ideals, whereas maybe they should be a bit more critical of Ryder's as well to illustrate that he's not he's not the voice of reason. He's just offering a different counterpoint. And I do think that to a certain degree, everyone celebrates the moment that Ryder shoots down Saber is like a triumphant moment. Like when he's like, actually, you're a dumbass kind of moment. Like people hail him as like the dude who knows what's up, and they don't really question what he's saying. So I think the show does kind of like fail to criticize him enough to make it apparent that it's like, you know, there's no one side fits all, like no one is right. They just all have different perspectives. So I think that's what this point's trying to get across. And I think that's a pretty fair point because Ryder is very celebrated. I love him for his charisma. I think he's really fun to watch. I think he's interesting, but like, I wouldn't say the show is that critical of him.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he was my favorite part of Fate Zero. I really enjoyed his character, but I also wasn't too much questioning the stuff he was saying, as opposed to, you know, at the end where it comes kind of like he's pointing out late, where Ryder realizes or admits he was sort of a hypocrite. So
yeah.
But yeah, in terms of takes, I've never seen this one before. So
I've never seen this take. I think it's pretty valid though, and I think he has like obviously some valid points too, but I do think it is kind of an issue that we're not like the fact that more people are not more critical of him and are more ready to celebrate Saber being wrong. I think shows how it can lean one side more than the other. Yeah.
And it's also something that even with people kind of hear this take, it's not like they're going to be like, oh, this changes everything. This recontextualizes everything about, you know, Fate Zero and Ryder's character. It's sort of like, you know, you just have to really, I don't know. It's like you just have to kind of really pay attention to what he's saying and sort of, like it doesn't change too much, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty fair point. So I think it's fair. I think people aren't going to agree because I don't think people are used to hearing Ryder be criticized, and the fact that no one's really used to Ryder being criticized is kind of like, you know,
I'm struggling. I'm struggling to process this.
Yeah, we're literally shaking and crying right now. Yeah. So I think pretty hot take though. One of the hotter takes. I'd say top 5 hot takes so far.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it was like the way he was supposed to come off wasn't like he was supposed to know what he was talking about. Like, it just kind of came off like he was just supposed to be kind of an inspirational kind of role model for like Waver, even especially with how flawed he was. You know, it wasn't that he was perfect. It was more about, you know, sort of just kind of like how he was able to inspire Waver, regardless of how he didn't come through in his own life.
Yeah. So add it to the list
of hotness.
Yeah.
All right. Chat doesn't seem to have much to say about it, so I think you know, they're also trying to process it.
Yeah, we got to get through a lot in an hour because I have to go at 8. So.
All right, we're gonna go speed run.
Speed run the hot takes.
A lot. All right, we're gonna do this.
Oh my god. Oh my god, what is this?
I made a mistake. There we go.
Okay. Should we just summarize this one? This one's extreme.
Yeah. So this one is go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. Your turn.
No, I was just gonna say this is pretty much summed up as Violet and Gilbert, especially I think this is referring to the movie, the Violet Evergarden movie. So that their relationship is kind of the worst and you shouldn't ship them because of inherent age difference and the power balance, and that she's too young.
Too young, and that they said
too young and impressionable and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think they're a good ship, but I think they're not a good ship because I don't think Gilbert is interesting as a character at all. So, like, I'm not really compelled by him, but I don't know. I think this is also, like, this is a bit too much in terms of, like, you know, Violet's able to make her own decisions at this point. She's 18. It's been 4 years since she had last seen him. She knows she's able to make her own choices. So I think it takes a bit of autonomy away from her. Also, spoilers for Violet Evergarden. Sorry, guys. But, you know, like, at some point you got to if you're uncomfortable by it, totally fair. But I think, you know, she's able to make her own decisions. And I don't know. That's kind of it. I don't feel too strongly about this.
I wasn't uncomfortable by it, but I get it. Like I get, I don't know. I just feel like, and this is in regards to the movie. I mean, I don't want to spoil, but like, I just feel like for the sake of her character, she needed more time to sort of develop on her own. But maybe that's more of a gripe with how the story was told as opposed to this take. So that part I agree with.
Yeah, I think it's more like this person's like angry about it. I think we're both like, they're not good because they're kind of boring, TBH. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, that, and they kind of just needed to kind of, again, I don't know, she just needed to kind of keep growing on her own. And it was kind of weird, though, that he did sort of, like, this person says he gaslit her by making her believe he was, like, kind of gone for all these years. And then it's like, no, psych, I was kind of in the background, so.
Yeah, I think that was just, like, kind of like not a good development.
It was a weird move. It was just like,
and it's not a good. I don't think it's the best development given the way the series left off of like her coming to terms. Whatever.
I feel like
too much, but
this is really a discussion on the movie. So if we want to bring it back, we could talk about the movie some other time. But hot take.
I don't think anyone is like super hype about them as a ship. No one's like, yo, this is it. This is it. Peak. So. I think it's not. I don't think it's hot. I think it's just Violet Evergarden criticism can be a hot take.
Yeah. All right, moving on.
Yeah.
Should I zoom in on this one?
No, I think this is, that's fine. Nanika's wish-granting ability from Hunter x Hunter is not overpowered and doesn't make Nanika a deus ex machina. It also doesn't make Alika a bad character. It has a complicated series of rules and limits as a Nen ability of such scale should have. And if every single powerful character in a series was foreshadowed, there would be no intrigue or mystery. Like, I don't know. What do you think?
I don't think this is a hot take. I mean, like, I don't.
Yeah.
But then again, this is probably aimed at the Hunter x Hunter community, maybe that finds. Does Nanika get a lot of criticism usually? Is that what it is?
Probably the main criticism of the series. I think that there's like, I kind of agree in terms of like, I think there's a lot of room for criticism for how her character is used and introduced with this. Like, I kind of would like a bit more, but I really do like the comment that they said that if every single powerful character in a series was foreshadowed, there would be no intrigue or mystery. Because I see a lot of people complain about like lack of foreshadowing for things in every series, not just Hunter x Hunter related. Like they complain about like lack of foreshadowing, and it's like either they're wrong and there is foreshadowing, or they don't have foreshadowing, but it's fine because how can you do a plot twist if you're trying to like leave hints for everything, you know?
Well, you lay the groundwork in some way that it existed, because if not, then you can kind of tell like the author wrote himself into a corner and just pulled something out of his ass, which I don't think it is in this case, because they did establish Nanika from like earlier on that she had some power and something, so it wasn't like completely out of nowhere. And a lot of people do like to say, oh, that's a deus ex machina, that's a deus ex machina, you know, because now I know this term, so that's that thing. But I know you're trying to go for the broader point. And I think foreshadowing is good, you know, when they set things up. It just depends, like what's an example that you can think of where there was kind of not as much foreshadowing, but then, or chat, if you guys have an example.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think of stuff that isn't foreshadowed as much. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'd have to think on it more, but I just see people complain about like either not enough foreshadowing or something where they're like, I don't know. They're like, oh, like it's a plot. It's more of people being like, this is a plot hole because it wasn't foreshadowed. And it's like, that's not what that means. Like, that's not really what that means. And it's not really related. So I think a lot of it is just like the discussions around this is not the most interesting. But I think Weirdy says not a hot take. I think I'm kind of inclined to agree. Not super duper hot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's hot. I've always had a lot of respect for Nen. And I know that for a lot of people, it seems like, well, it's just an excuse to like be able to do anything in a show. And I'm like, yes, but it's explained. You know, it's broken down. There's a series of systems.
Yeah, exactly. So we respect.
I don't know. I'm safe to move on.
I think.
All right, guys.
Well, praying for another hot take. That's
but
hot.
For whoever submitted this, we agree with you. So there you go.
This is a hot one. This is a hot one, guys.
This one has a long. Wait, is it? Does it have a long explanation?
No, not really. Okay.
It's like a paragraph.
Kageyama is not a top 15 character in Haikyuu. Explanation: he's quite good and borderline great, but most of the cast is as interesting as he is, and they achieve it with far less screen time, and he doesn't contribute as much as the other characters in the time that he gets. Relatively minor take. Shoujo is in top 5, so that's Hinata. So, I mean, they essentially don't find him that interesting compared to the other cast members. I would like to see who they have over him, because I know there's probably at least 5 characters I don't think are as interesting or as well written. Just going to say that off the bat. But I really disagree with he doesn't contribute as much as the other characters in the time that he gets when he's like the secondary focus to Hinata, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think this is like a very hot take, very disagreeable take. I don't agree with this at all. I think it's bad. It offends me, and I don't like it. I want to burn it from space. So
you don't agree with it because, again, Kageyama gets a lot of focus, even though it's usually with Hinata. The part that offends me is Hinata not top 5.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot more than this, because some people get annoyed by Hinata, which I also think is bad. But I think his themes are like kind of central to the story. Like, Kageyama's all about how he's talented, but he's not good at getting along with people, and he's not good at connecting with them. And how he learns to open up to the people around him, first with Hinata with their shared passion for volleyball, and then him with the whole team. And then we've even seen this in season 4, where like he has to kind of learn how to be himself, which is this like unpersonable but very talented, very blunt, offensive person, but in a way that like everyone gets with him. So he's finally being accepted for who he is and not the polite front that he has. So connecting with others and being a team member is like one of the major focuses of the series. And I think that's what he brings to the table. So I fundamentally disagree with the idea that his character doesn't bring as much.
Yeah, I don't know. It's sort of like, but not top 15, man. That's a lot of characters.
Yeah, there's like, come on. Like maybe he's number 11 for you.
Yeah.
Not top 15. Come on.
Yeah.
I need to see that list. I need to see that list of 15. I need to see it. I need to see it. So I disagree. I think this is a bad take. I think it's inaccurate and offensive. The 2 no-nos.
Yeah, I think so too.
This
I don't
might
have
be
much to say.
This might be the worst take. I think it's actually the worst take we've gotten thus far. Chat, do you feel me?
I think Chad is relatively annoyed.
They don't like it. They don't like it either. This is a very bad take.
I'm not like super offended, but I'm offended.
But I'm there. I'm getting there.
But I'm there. I'm like trying to remember things, and as I'm slowly remembering, I'm like, okay, offensive.
You're trying to remember 15 characters, and you're like,
offended levels are like rising up. You know, like there's just a lot of good characters, but Kageyama does get a lot of time to get development. So
the people are. We might have to add it to number 1 on the list.
The 15 is the offensive part. If it's top 10, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. 15. The things that stand out. It's not
like it's just like the top 10, understandable, but top 15 is just like a smack in the face. Like he's not even in your 15.
That's when you know they're trying to go for blood. So like 15 is offensive, and he doesn't contribute as much as the other characters and the time he gets. It's like, what is he not contributing, and what are they contributing? Like, who are they? And I know I need to know. I need to know the top 15.
Is he just putting like what's his name? Who's the guy from?
Bokuto is a great person that I could understand over Kageyama, but I know there's going to be one dude in there that I'm like, get him out of there. Get him out.
I feel like he's putting like probably Washijo over Kageyama.
But I could understand that. I feel like it's like the one like redhead dude. My sleeve is getting so yucky. The redheaded dude from Shiratorizawa.
Oh, okay. Oh, I think I hate him.
Yes, he might have him over there. I don't know. I need to see the list. We need the list.
Bring up that list. We need evidence. Or actually, we just need to see what you got so we can judge you. Wolf of Wall Street asked earlier, where could you submit explanations? I didn't see that field. We didn't have that field. You were just supposed to include it. But if you had a take and didn't explain, you can feel free to explain it on the stream.
Yeah.
If it comes up. And if it doesn't, tell us what your take was. All right.
bad. Jimmy obviously asked this one, and then Jimmy had to leave. So Jimmy will come back to see us talking about his take about Howl's Moving Castle. Howl's Moving Castle is my least favorite / worst Ghibli film. I'm saying that as someone who has seen most of them, but I know it's beloved. I'd say even The Cat Returns is better. I just don't care much for the characters in it, and a lot of the character beats and story moments in it don't connect with me as much like Ghibli often is. It's hard to put into words, but I don't care for it that much. But it's Ghibli, so I'm not saying it's bad. I just like all the other films better. Still really good visuals. I like the it's still kind of good. I've seen a lot of Howl's Moving Castle hate, but going back to that comment about director commentary, Howl's Moving Castle is Miyazaki's favorite movie of his. So
Really?
Yeah, he mentions it because I think he really likes the themes it explores that says that essentially along the lines that like the elderly have a good purpose, they have reason for living, and it encourages that kind of like love of life. That's what he says.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny that like, if we have to take author interview or creator interviews seriously, it's like funny when you bring that up and you're just like, well, it's funny you say that Howl's Moving Castle is your least favorite because that's Miyazaki's own favorite. But I think that's just another mark for like, pick your own. You're the protagonist of your own life.
That's also very probably personal to Miyazaki because after watching his documentary, I'm like, okay, I could see why he would think that.
Yeah.
But I never finished Howl's Moving Castle, so I don't have much to say about this. I only watched like 30 minutes of it. So
yeah. I've seen a lot of criticism for it. I think people just like are not that fond of it sometimes, or they're not a vibe, but I really liked it. I think it's a fun movie. One of the best defenses I've seen for it is that it's a really good film with romanticism. Like it really captures that romantic feeling of Europe and between Howl and Sophie. I think they have an interesting, like cute dynamic. And I saw one thing that later in the movie, spoilers, I hope you don't mind.
Yeah, no worries.
She is back in time speaking with Howl in his past. And the beginning of the film opens up with him saying like, oh, I finally found you. And at first it just looks like he's being cute and charming, but someone pointed out that like, oh, it's like relates back with the time loop aspect, kind of a mini time loop. But I think that's a really cool detail. And I think there's a lot of interesting details to it that make it fun. Is it like, I'd say it might be top 5 Ghibli for me. I don't know. I'd say top 5, but I can
is it in your top 15?
Yeah, it might be top 15 Ghibli, just like getting crazy out there. But I don't know. I could understand people being not so hot on it, but I've seen way more criticism for Howl's Moving Castle than like any other Ghibli film, and I don't think that lines up with my experience. Like I think there are a lot, not like infinitely worse, but like infinitely less interesting Ghibli films.
Yeah, I think I haven't heard too much. I've heard more criticisms of like other Ghibli films. Specifically, a lot of people don't like Totoro. So,
well, I can understand that. That's a very like it's a kids movie. I can understand be kind of like not as engaged. I like Totoro too, but like I think I'd put that below Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah.
I like this comment from Weirdy that Howl connects very much to women more since it's very connected to the fear of losing youth while retaining inner beauty. I just think the war plot takes it down. And I think that kind of makes sense. The like war plot is like there, but not necessarily the best. So I kind of vibe with that.
Yeah, I also think, I don't know. I don't think this is a hot take though. It's
not a hot take.
It's not really a hot take. So, and yeah. So
Princess Mononoke stays winning.
Yeah, exactly. Still in the top 15.
Still in the top 15.
All right, next. Oh, can we skip this one?
Yeah, why not?
No, all right. Let's. I'll read it. Monogatari and every subsequent series is hard to follow at the best of times and almost incomprehensible at the worst of times. Spoken dialogue goes fast and snappy and implies some needed cultural knowledge for many sequences within. Still gave it an 8 though, because Hanakawa is very hot. So I don't think this is a hot take.
I think it might be because I think a lot of people are good at following it, but I do think kind of a theory. I think there are some parts that go over people's head, but they're less inclined to say that because they don't want to criticize the series and because they're more okay with it because the characters are hot. So I think this guy kind of like, or personally like touches on it a bit, but I mean, Yeah, I mean, it kind of. I think it's fair if you find it tough to follow. I think it's pretty straightforward, but it can be a lot at once. There's a lot of really quick editing, really quick cuts, like a lot going on. So,
Yeah, I mean, I felt that way at first when I first watched it. I had to get like used to it to kind of like I kept pausing at every
the
every one of those
where they're like,
the text, and I would just stop to read them, like, and then I had to ask a friend, like, do I have to pause these? Like, no, you don't. And then I still kept pausing, and then I just got really used to pausing. Yeah.
People are probably going to be inclined to call them dumb and be like, oh, like meathead take, but like I think it's kind of fair, especially if like, not everyone reads really quickly. It takes a lot to process a lot of it, and it's such a unique series that like I think it's fair. Probably a hot take because many people don't want to say it, but I think more people probably agree with this than they're ready to admit.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I don't think it's a hot take. I've heard this before, but hey, chat is kind of torn. I see like some people saying it hurts, other people saying it doesn't. Don't agree, but I do agree Monogatari dialogue can be annoying at times, even if it's still a really good series.
Yeah.
It's definitely fair, but still funny.
Yeah.
All right. Next one. We're winding down.
Winding down. We got it.
Okay.
Magical girl anime greater than shonen. They have many of the same tropes and core themes, but shonen is way more misogynistic. They also said something. I had a follow-up thing of like power, friendship, long running, cool magic, and fights, but one of them is for girls, so it's niche, while the other is the face of anime. I think this is where we gotta come back to it with some like, like, okay, Sailor Moon, one of the most iconic anime of all time. Madoka Magica was formerly one of the best-selling series of the 2010s. They constantly sell well. I think there is some truth that like it's not as mainstream, but I don't think I hate when people be like, okay, this is misogynistic, when it's like you can look at any individual series and either like contradict that or subsidize it as an argument. I could I've seen so many bad magical series that I could argue are misogynistic, but it's not the point. Like it's not a really good point to make. I think there's some sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I don't think the shonen are like, this is kind of like assuming the shonen is trying to be inherently misogynistic or intentionally misogynistic, where it's not. And I think it's also a case by case basis. There are some shonen that are more clearly quote unquote misogynistic, where the treatment of the female characters, where some aren't. So.
I think it's just tough. I think there's some truth that like people might be less inclined to try a magical girl series because they're more girly, and that might not appeal to them as much as something like a lot of shonen series that are more like masculine and tougher. But I mean, the magical girl anime have always been very successful, from even earlier series like Sailor Moon, Utena, Cardcaptor Sakura. These were all staples of the 90s that were like very successful, still around. Madoka is one of the best-selling series of all time. There's probably other examples like that I'm not thinking of. What's the one I'm thinking of? I don't know. There's a lot out there, but I think there is some truth that people are more inclined to check out shonen series that are more, ragged or rough looking, but that are more rough looking, but I don't think it's like, I don't know. I mean, one of my favorite casts is from a shonen series, like Gintama female cast. I would put over many magical girl casts. So I don't think they're misogynistic either. It's just a matter of how it turns out to be.
There's some stories that you think they're shoujos and they're shonen, or there are shonen stories that are written by women. So how can they be misogynistic? But
sometimes they're just bad writers too. Like, let's just call it that.
I mean, the one that I've always heard stuff about being misogynistic is Bakuman. I know it's a manga about writing manga, but it is a shonen.
I think they're just I think they try that. I just don't think they're the best at writing women, but sometimes they're just not good. I mean, once again, gotta bring up my favorite tale as old as time, Citrus. Probably one of the worst anime of all time. One of the worst female casts, one of the worst everything, written by a female.
They're pretty unlikable. Yeah. I dropped that show.
Yeah. So gotta be.
Let's see. Weirdy brings up, consider that the same director behind the best Precure did Broly, and is why One Piece looks so great now.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Good point.
I mean, I feel like there's more to it than just that. So this is a little bit reductionist. So
Yeah. I think it's just very reductionist, as you put it. So.
And Card Captor Sakura, top tier. So if you haven't watched it, I am actually really due for a rewatch. So
me too. I want to see it.
Love that show.
See it again.
I like this one, and I
You
liked
like
your
this one?
comment in the in the doc.
Okay, this is where the real hot take is hidden in the hot take. Attack on Titan should 100% be considered a mecha, as we don't consider every mechanical thing a mecha, like say Fast and the Furious. Fast and the Furious is a mecha series. They go into space. Like, what are we doing? This person is not cut up with Fast and the Furious. So
that's the hot take. That's what I take issue with.
Very hot take. I think we got to take issue with the Fast and the Furious part. And then they go on to like differentiate with like Eva and Gurren Lagann. So the definition isn't as rigid.
I mean,
whatever.
I'd liken this take to saying like Dr. Stone is an isekai. It's sort of that same sort of logic where it's not clearly an isekai, but then when you look at the mechanics, it's isekai-like. So you're kind of saying, well, Attack on Titan has mecha-like things in it. But, you know.
For sure. But let's say we got to... This person, like, I'm just saying, you got to catch up on your Fast and Furious knowledge. It's very mecha. We should be considering it a mecha, and we need Fast and Furious rights. That's where we go.
In the next installment, they're looking on having a crossover with Transformers, and they're gonna have Bumblebee be one of the cars that Dom drives, and it's
that's kind of fire.
Mecha.
That's kind of heat. That's kind of heat. We're getting into some good stuff. So, Fast and the Furious, we represent. There we go.
Exactly. Move on to the next one.
Yeah. Glad we got that. Someone said that they've seen this on Mal, so this take it keeps going. The take that keeps giving. Let's see. I believe Makuya to be just okay. As visually stunning as the film is and having great moments, especially during its second act, it falls into the issues that Mari Okada has when writing her stories. Just like Anohana, the film wants you to feel so much of the emotions all the time that it ends the story 3 or 4 times on the same note. It's like, this will make you cry, and then this will make you cry more. Thank God we've reached the end, because I can't cry anymore until it doesn't end, and you will cry even more. This is so funny. That's what I feel Anohana does and what Makuya does too. It's a shame, because I feel like if she could change a little bit how she tells her stories, she could truly make a fantastic work of art one day.
I just want to say that the part about this will make you cry and this will make you cry more, you know, that's how I felt watching the Violet Evergarden movie recently. Not to get into that, but that's literally, I felt emotionally manipulated.
Yeah, I mean, I think Makuya and... Actually, when I think about it, I never cried during Anohana. I didn't find it that sad.
I was very annoyed at the end of Anohana, so.
I feel kind
and I don't like Makuya, so.
You didn't like it?
No.
Okay, I'm kind of in the same boat, but I thought it was a bit better. I think it nailed a bit more emotional moments better, but I'm in the similar boat.
I think so too. But it wasn't. It didn't hit me as hard as like a lot of people that were, you know, saying it was really, really good. So.
Yeah, I think the Mari Okada special that she's actually really good at is portraying these very unique, uncomfortable feelings that are really authentic. And I think she does that really well in something like Maidens of the
Savage season. Yeah.
That and kind of Kisniver. Like that Kisniver is my favorite work of hers, but which is a hot take in and of itself. But I think that she's good at nailing those unique emotional moments, but she's bad at resolving them because they're so unique that like they're so complicated that most people wouldn't know how to resolve it. And I don't think she knows how to resolve them herself.
Because that's life. It's messy and you can't resolve it that easily. But that's not an excuse for a story. You know, like, I don't know. I think she's good with them conceptually. I really enjoyed her Nagi no Asukara, which she did. That one I really, really enjoyed. I don't know if the ending or the second arc, because they have like a time skip thing, was like as resolved as like good. Like it wasn't as strong as it was set up in the beginning. So I think that issue even carries over there. So, but I loved like in O Maidens in your Savage season, that one, like those issues that it tackled, because I hadn't seen that being done before. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think she nails a lot of interesting things. I just don't know if she does it in like, she doesn't really resolve it or bring it full circle in the same interesting way. So I think she has a lot of talent too, and a lot of unique abilities at writing characters. But I agree with the last part of this take that like, I think she just needs to like kind of maybe either get to a point in her own life where she understands her own emotions to convey that. Because going back to character interviews, sorry, we know that she wrote a book on like her really turbulent upbringing and her complicated relationship with her mother, and that's influenced a lot of her work. But I think maybe we'll get to a point where she kind of like gets it, and then she can put that to paper, and I think that'll be really good.
Yeah, 'cause she has really interesting observations and like insights. It's just kind of writing it together. And I keep hearing this, not this one, sorry.
Yeah.
Iron-Blooded Orphans is like her best work, right?
I've heard that.
Recommending that one. Yeah. Still have not finished that show. Sorry.
We'll get to that at some point, maybe.
I don't think this is a hot take. What do you think?
I don't think so either. The Makuya being mid is a hot take, as experienced for me firsthand. When I say it's mid, I get the heat, but
yeah. Maybe we're the ones with the hot take.
Maybe we're just like, no, wait, this is what we think. And then everyone else sees this and they're like, how could you?
What the fuck? Just weebs.
No. I was like, sorry, we're just weebs.
Guys, let us know in the chat if this should make our top 5 of hot takes, or is this not even in the top 15? Let us know.
Yeah, let us know, because we're out of touch with our own take.
Yeah, we don't even know what's hot anymore.
We don't know.
Someone was telling me earlier that I said something hot, and I was like, I didn't even know.
Yeah, I forget which one it was. We've seen so many. I don't even know if we need the explanation for this one. Do you want to read this one?
Yeah, I got this. 99% of English dubs made today are just as good as the sub. Y'all just biased. I could read the explanation, unless you really think it doesn't really add anything. Saying.
Yeah, I think it's kind of.
Yeah, no, it's kind of
Yeah, so you guys, we've all seen this take before. I think it's like goes either way, because here's my example of like, yeah, there are a lot of good English dubs out there that definitely get the feeling of the show and they nail it very well. But then you get situations like the Haikyuu dub, and like, I don't know if you remember that, but like they fundamentally change the words that have completely different meanings. So like a Haikyuu dub, beginning of season 2, episode 1, you know, that cool scene where they encounter Yoshijima and Hinata says like, you know, I'm Hinata Shoyo from the concrete, as in referencing the previous discussion where the Yoshijima said, without like fertile soil, Jesus, I'm butchering this, without fertile soil, like a team can't do well. So he's essentially saying that Oikawa's team only has him, so he's not going to do what they're not going to do that well because they don't have the makings of a great team. They don't have the makings of a varsity athlete. And then he's saying,
oh my God.
And I had to do it. And then Hinata's like, okay, well, if they're infertile soil and my concrete, and then they have the cool scene where like they throw the ball and he catches the ball and he's like, I'm Hinata Shoyo from the concrete, referencing that conversation, saying that like, you think that I don't have shit, I'm going to prove you wrong, which is that's the context of the conversation and what makes it so cool. Fast forward to the dub, they say, I'm Hinata Shoyo from the Karasuno parking lot. The Karasuno parking lot's made out of concrete, but that completely changes the meaning of the scene.
That's so different.
And that's the thing is like there's so many different nuances that are missed, not just because like they change a word here or there or the characters sound different, but like they're changing the fundamental meaning of the scene. And that's where some of the dubs I don't think should get a pass.
But here, I think they're specifically referencing. What you're saying is totally valid. I just think here they're referencing performance, because most of the common complaint. And Shaw just left the chat. I think Shaw they didn't want to hear the rest of her defense of subs. Hopefully Shaw will come back soon. In the meantime, let's just hope and pray. Shaw's back. All right.
Sorry, guys. I got so heated. Back. Sorry.
They didn't like it was too much heat.
Too much heat.
They try to cancel you for trying to defend dubs.
You're right.
Now, I think here they're trying to really referring to the performance. Because most of the biggest complaints, the most common complaints for years has been like, oh, the Japanese sounds so much better, which is what we recently experienced with Squid Game. You know. Yeah,
definitely. I like the comment that Weirdy said that the thing that dubs struggle with is the moe voice. The cutesy characters feel more performative in a lot of dubs. And I agree. If there's a child character in a dub, I'm not watching it. I'm not doing it. So I think child voices and moe voices, they really struggle. But if it's a cast of like mostly adults, I think they do a good job.
Yeah, I think always the children sound for the dubs that I've heard sound a little unnatural. Sound like a little bit like they're trying too hard. So
yeah, but I do think sometimes dubs get villainized a bit much just for being dubs, but sometimes they just don't work. So it's a case by case basis.
yeah, and it's also like more of what you're used to now. So sometimes I'm tempted to like watch a dub because I want to be able to multitask and do something else while being able to listen in the background, but I just can't bring myself to do it yet. So
Yeah.
yeah. So guys, hot, not hot. I think this is kind of a common take.
I think it's
Sort of.
common.
Yeah. So let's move on.
Domestic Girlfriend is a very enjoyable manga with really good moments in it. Although the ending technically is kind of bad, it was still an edge of your seat experience that you can never forget. Peak fiction, 10 out of 10. Okay.
The 10 out of 10 offends me.
Yeah, I think this is like kind of normal that like if you base your enjoyment based off, how entertaining something is and you find it entertaining and like it constantly kept you engaged one way or another, that's kind of fair. But I think most people are like, nah, not fam. This is not it.
Nah, that's bullshit. As someone who read the whole manga and waited for the chapter, listen, the whole edge of your seat bullshit, that was like up to chapter 100. After that, it was just nothing. And it did have good moments, especially the whole Natsu as a writer moments with it were in the like chapter 150, 160. It was nice. It was nice. I'll give you that. And up to 216, crazy twist. I couldn't sleep that night. It was insane. All right, I'll give you that. But after that, nope. There was no edge of your seat. It was just bullshit. Bullshit until the end. And the end was bullshit. So it is not a 10 out of 10.
Everyone's in the chat. Everyone on the chat's like, shout out to Giguk. Didn't know he was watching the show. So this is the Giguk take. Thank you, Giguk.
I think this is what he said. I don't know. I think maybe it was in his video. But I don't know. It was not peak. Not for the last 50 chapters. Sorry. But it did have good moments. I'll give it that.
Okay. So definitely hot take.
Yeah.
Definitely hot for the 10 out of 10 peak fiction. So.
Yeah. That's my hot take. A hot take to me.
Offensive to you.
I will not let this stand.
This is interesting, and I don't think either of us can truly comment on it, but I do think it's an interesting take. School Days, the anime, is an amazing critique of the harem genre, turning the self-insert character into a dark reflection of the viewers and their ideals about relationships and women. So a lot of people who hate the show are just uncomfortable with the show calling them out. So I've always seen praise for the ideas behind School Days and criticism for the execution. So I don't know if this is a hot take because I feel like most people who watch it are like, you know what? This is like kind of a deconstruction of the harem genre in that like, yeah, if you're in a harem and you're pursuing 3 other people or more than 3, one of them might try and kill you. So I think, some interesting commentary on that, but I've never seen people critique the ideas behind it,
I've never watched School Days until this day, but I know everything that happens. I know the whole story. I agree. I think the first part of this, before the, so a lot of people who hate the show are just uncomfortable. Like, I think the first part before that, I think that's a great take. I've heard that before. It's really interesting. I don't expect people to get that when they watch it. It's kind of like our earlier kind of conversation where people will just like kind of miss it because it's not really, it's all this other stuff happening. And it doesn't really make it too apparent that that's what it's doing, I guess, as a non-viewer that hasn't watched it. So, yeah. But I don't know. I don't know if the people who hate the show are uncomfortable because it's calling them out. Maybe. Yeah. Actually, possibly. I don't know.
Possibly. It's possibly half and half. Half, like, bad execution, half, I'm scared and I don't like this. So, Sushi55 said, yes, 2008 called. It wants this take back. So I'm thinking not so hot.
Yeah, I don't think it's super hot. I think like the only time that I was exposed, no, I didn't even get to watch School Days. It was like my anime club in high school put it on while like the day I was out, and then they totally got in trouble with like the moderator, and I heard about it afterward, and I was like, what the hell, guys?
It's so funny.
Yeah. So that was not bueno.
No good. Yeah, right. I'm thinking not too hot.
Yeah. On to the next one, guys.
On to the next one. Okay, do you want to read this one?
Yes, please. Hunter x Hunter is overrated. I think it's pretty good for a battle shonen, but I don't see why people praise it as the second coming of Jesus. Its thematic exploration is top notch, but story structure is lacking, especially how Togashi doesn't plan too far ahead and often drops entire plot lines for whatever reason. For example, Miluki, we get a huge exposition dump of the Black Market stuff that went absolutely nowhere. Same with Greed Island, cards that are non-existent in the second half. Plot conveniences, some minor ones are okay, but Aluka is the biggest plot device that Togashi brought into existence out of thin air.
Well, it looks like we already have a take that addresses the last part of this, but I like this take because they're like, I don't know why people say it's the second coming of Jesus. Its thematic exploration is top notch. You kind of answered the confusion right there. So,
I was telling Shah that there is a distinction between the divine and the mortal realm. It is saying it's not SS divine tier. It is just more like A tier.
It's not blessed. It's not blessed.
Not Jesus approved.
Not Jesus approved. Obviously, I disagree with this. I don't think it's the hottest take, but I think, when it says that he drops certain plot lines for whatever reason, like Miluki, never really thought he was a plot line. I don't know what they wanted more from the Black Market, because that's not, what else did they, what was the plot line around that they needed to explore more? I think that's just kind of the organic nature of Hunter x Hunter, where the entire show shifts based on what the characters are immediately doing. So they don't really need the Black Market anymore because it no longer serves their use, That's one of those things. Definitely fair criticism for the story structure, because that doesn't work with everyone. But I think the things that they're looking at as plot lines are things I never thought of as plot lines. I don't really know what they would explore.
I don't know. I've heard so many people complain about Greed Island, but I haven't heard the criticism that, about them wanting the cards to exist in the second half. It's just, I thought that was just a self-contained thing, and it's it's not going to come back.
I don't think every plot element needs to be relevant through the rest of the story. I think it's a better complaint to say, I wish Gon used the fishing rod, which they introduced with. I think that's a better complaint than but what about the Black Market? What else do you want with the Black Market? We've done that. Been there, done that. We're good. We're moving on.
Drax says, I know it's kind of true that though Aluka is just a get out of consequence card, and because he's related to Killua, he doesn't even have to pay the price for the wish. She was related to Killua, doesn't have to pay the price for the wish.
Well, I think he killed. Yeah, and that's something I would have liked a bit more on. I hope that could be a future development, but I do think there should be some kind of price to pay for that situation, which is why I'm on the fence with the other Aluka take. But I think with this one, is just Hunter x Hunter didn't click with them in terms of the story structure, the goals, and then how it progresses. But
I don't know. I've always loved Hunter x Hunter's, and I haven't watched it in a long time, but its exploratory nature, just how it just keeps expanding, and it's Togashi just kind of playing around with stuff. So
yeah, I've never heard anyone want more of Miluki, the fat otaku brother, but I guess we found the first person. So shout out to the Miluki stans. I didn't know you exist until now.
Savage. Next.
Next. I can summarize this. I didn't know we'd get so many Hunter x Hunter ones, but I guess this is just my Twitter.
They were coming for you. They were coming for you.
This is a good take, though. This is a good hot take. Welfin is easily one of the best Hunter x Hunter characters. He really helped make the Chimera Ant arc special. Essentially, they say that he really bridges everything together, from the king remembering Kogumi, and then his allegiance to Gyro, and how everything ties up. So they end this with, even if people don't agree with how great he is as a character, I don't think his importance should be downplayed. And I agree. He's not really, I was going to say not top 15, maybe top 15. I think he is an important character, though. So I think it's a good hot take. I think it's a cool, it's kind of like the Leorio one, on characters.
It's a positive. It's a positive hot take.
Positive hot take. So I think this is a good one.
Who's Wolfen again?
He's the wolf.
Okay, I don't remember him.
So he's the wolf guy who remember, he fights the octopus, and then he's trying to escape, and he runs into Muroum right after he got nuked, and then He mentions Kogumi to Morrowind, and that's how he remembers Kogumi.
Oh, okay. Got it. All right.
I think this person would argue that you should remember Welfin. That seems like their take.
Maybe. I think so. I will remember his sacrifice.
Remember his name.
He lived.
He didn't die, so.
Yeah, never mind.
Put some respect on his name.
I will watch out for him on my rewatch.
Savage.
Some people in the chat are like, on this one.
Yeah.
I think I could say it's a positive hot take. Maybe he doesn't get enough respect,
I like it as a take, Like might not agree, but I'm like, yo, I like this. Let's go.
Top 10.
Top 10. Top
11.
15, maybe.
All right. Last
we're
three,
down to
guys.
three.
Last
Damn.
3, and Shaw can be free from this.
I feel bad. I'm recording another podcast after this, so.
Damn.
Reading the source material of an anime ruins the anime. If anime is your number one way to consume media, then reading the source, manga, light novel, VN, just makes the anime experience worse. Getting the anime as blind as possible first, and then going to the source leads to a better experience.
Much better, yeah.
Maybe.
So, okay, I half agree with this. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't think it makes the anime experience worse. That's the part where, like, I disagree on. It doesn't make it worse. For me personally, it just makes me less invested. But I can still, that's kind of it.
I'm trying to think of any series where I've read. Okay. I disagree because I got one where I read the manga and the anime experience was a lot better. So, Scum's Wish. I read the manga in a night. Hated. It was traumatized me, but like it got the point across, but it meandered a lot. Then I watched the anime, and the anime did it infinitely better, except for like one character. So it made the whole thing better. And I think it made me appreciate the anime more. So I have an exception, but for the most part, I think this really is like, it really just depends. It really depends on the situation.
I mean, it could be like, hey, if you hadn't read Promised Neverland, maybe season 2 wouldn't have been as bad.
I think that's even that's too far. Maybe in a way.
I don't know. Chat's saying this is hot.
Yeah, chat's saying it's hot, but I think it's also, this kind of reminds me of like, I feel like the person who said this doesn't really read the source material too much, Like, I don't feel like someone who I don't feel like someone who said this, like, has read the source material and, like, has a balanced view of it. Because I've been on both sides where I'm like, anime onlys don't understand and source readers are ruining it. I've been on both sides. I
think this would not work if the source material is bad.
Yeah.
And then it gets an adaptation, because then at that point, they're not going to want to watch it. Why would they watch something that they already think is like bad? They wouldn't think, oh, maybe the anime will improve on it. They just won't give a shit. So
yeah,
it doesn't really work that way either.
Yeah, I actually think part 5 anime made it better than the manga. So I got 2 going on right now. But I think people would also say that I don't know. I could go either way on this, but it's kind of spicy.
Yeah. I mean, it's got the chat going a little bit, so I think
get the people going.
I think it prompts more discussion, so I think it's a bit hot, but
I like Kel's take that it's a matter of which medium you prefer, and saying it just ruins the anime experience is a stretch.
And I think that's what part of what makes it hot.
Yeah,
it's saying it ruins it. So, yeah, kind of spicy. We gotta move on though.
Kind of spicy.
Next.
We get 2 left, but I can't read them still. Steins Gate Zero is better than Steins Gate, as I think seeing the consequences of Okabe's actions eating him alive make for such an interesting story.
Super hot take.
Super hot take, because there's so much of Steins Gate Zero that's like bad. Like just actively not good. Also, I disagree, because in Steins Gate, we see the consequences of Okabe's actions eating him alive for like the entire second half. So it's not like that's not present in Steins Gate. So
yeah, this would need more clear examples of how the second half doesn't compare to Steins Gate Zero, or what it is about Steins Gate Zero that makes it more, I don't know, better.
I guess it dives into his psychology a bit, but like so does the original Steins Gate. So like, I mean, no, Steins Gate Zero is like really not good. Like, it's not really not good. There are a lot of good parts to Steins Gate Zero, but
Steins
like,
Gate
as a comparison.
Steins Gate Zero episode 23 is good. Everything else?
Like, well, there's like the 1/7 where he sees Kurisu again.
Oh yeah, that was good.
It's like very circumstantial.
But it's very based on having watched the first Steins Gate. Like you appreciate those instances more because you know like who these characters are and all of that on the original Steins Gate. So from the original Steins Gate.
It looks infinitely worse. It's directed very poorly, and there are some scenes that just look so ass that you're like, no, I refuse.
Chad is in pain, so I think this is this offends me. This actually gravely offends me.
Yeah. This is worse than the Kageyama take. Okay, so we're gonna put it on that level. I think we got the Sangatsu take, the Kageyama take, and the Steins Gate 01. We'll have to recap in a bit, but like I think those are the ones that maybe the Oh yeah, this is your. I remember this one too. This one might take the cake. Let's go. I remember this one.
All right, let's go.
Yeah. So
let's just spin the wheel as a formality.
Spin me around like a record.
It's just for show, guys.
IQ matches drag on too long. I can't believe you did it.
You want me to read this one?
Yeah, I think the explanation's not too bad.
Okay.
Or not too long.
You often hear people saying they got into a sport through sports anime or enjoying an anime in spite of the sport. But after catching up to all of the Haikyuu anime, I've come to the conclusion that isn't necessarily true. Haikyuu does everything right as far as team camaraderie, training, matchups, and escalation. Anytime it's not on the court, I have a good time. But to quote Hirogami, though, I just don't like volleyball that much. Volleyball as a sport scores through points way too quickly for me, and Haikyuu's shonen sport approach is all about prolonging the path to the winning shot. Technically, that's what I love about sports I've played, such as soccer or baseball, but imagine if each home run they spend half an ep building up to being matched by a throwaway point by the other team in half a minute. If it was more like ping pong where speed is the point, I could imagine vibing with it. But as is, Run with the Wind took a lot of what I liked in Haikyuu and applied it to something I could actually get into.
I think it's your fault for not liking volleyball enough.
Damn.
It's just your fault. I think it's really, I definitely disagree that the matches drag on because I think they're paced very well and they do a good job of balancing everything. So I disagree with that. But it does really just sound like they didn't do enough to capture your interest in Haikyuu. I mean, the sport, in volleyball. So I think that's fair enough. Is like it didn't do enough. But yeah, I disagree. So stop it.
I disagree too because I was never really, and this is the typical story probably for most people that. He said it, that get into sports, do sports anime. But, I didn't care about volleyball before this. And then Haikyuu got me so into, like, the dramatic moments, the build-up, the explanations. And it just got me so invested in, especially when they explain all the positions. And you're even kind of invested in the side characters and kind of their passion for their positions, like sort of like Nishinoya.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think 99% of Haikyuu watchers were not like volleyball fans before. So it sounds like just something worked for us that didn't work for Weirdy. So,
but I think it's still, it's a valid take. I think it's explained very well. And I think we're
valid, but we don't agree.
It's respectable.
We don't need it.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, Run with the Wind, I think had its own appeal. But that one didn't make me, I don't know if that one made me more invested in running as it just made me more invested in the characters and kind of like their kind of shared experience. But yeah.
Yeah. It almost made me want to start running, which is impressive. But I think Haikyuu is executed a lot better than Run with the Wind. So
yeah.
Just my take on it. So
yep. And those are our takes. And that's all the hot takes we've got. If we miss someone's take because we didn't include it because it didn't have an explanation and you happen to be on the stream, I think there's one of you. Feel free to bring it up now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, bring up all the takes bring up your takes if we didn't bring them up, and then everyone else bring up which take stood out as the worst hot take.
Yes.
Because we need all the takes.
Yeah. And then once we have that, we'll have our winner. And then
but what do you just in the meantime, Onimaru, which stand out to you as the hot takes? Because we went over like 40, so we have a lot to pick from.
I'm going to just do a quick scan through. I mean, I felt like the Nina thing was kind of like a hot take, I think.
But it didn't
Yeah, no,
compel you, right? Like I didn't feel compelled by that.
I didn't feel compelled, but it was like on paper like a hot take because you don't really
definitely.
hear
And
that
then,
often.
yeah.
Let me see. I mean, domestic girlfriend offended me,
Yeah, that one got you to its score.
but I don't think it's like the peak. Maybe I'm not sure. Kageyama not 15, definitely not top 15.
I feel like that one's sticking to me. That top 15 one just really hits hard.
Like they really got to. They were like they just nailed in the type of haiku take that would get to
it's
get
like
under your skin.
And that was the rare one where the explanation made it worse. Because the explanation for that one made me be like, no, I really don't agree now. Wolf of Will Street said that their take was Fate Zero being the least favorite of the Fate anime. We might have to punt that to next time. I think we should do another one of these because we had so many takes and so many that we didn't get to. So I think we should save that to next time. Maybe if you can do like a bit more of an explanation, we'll do it again because we're gonna have to do more hot takes. It's like we love it, we're having fun, and that one I think you definitely need to explain because I know you're not saying that Fate Zero is worse than Fate Apocrypha. That's where I'm drawing the line. I'm not a Fate Zero stan, but like we got to have some level of understanding. So,
I need reasons.
I need reasons. You got to explain yourself on that one.
I like the Iskandar / Writer one. That one
I do like that one.
It was it didn't really offend me too much, but it was interesting. I haven't seen that one.
I think that's that was a rare one, and their explanation made sense. I guess this Steins Gate 01, that's like no one likes that. Everyone hated that.
That annoys me. I mean, I'd give it to Steins Gate 0, but I don't know. There's like a toss up between that, the Kageyama one, and trying to see what else. And the Sangatsu one.
The Sangatsu one is good, but I feel like we gotta just like people respect that. People came full circle and they're like, I don't agree with this, but they went so hard that I respect it.
You gotta appreciate the hard work,
So Muscat said Muscart. I say your name wrong and I like know who you are, so I feel bad. Shaw, this isn't fair for people like me who only have good takes and are never wrong. My condolences. I understand the struggle. Lovex said the VN one about RPG mechanics was pretty spicy, but that one doesn't stand out to me just because they were like contradicting themselves with their example with Fata Morgana. So I don't even think of that as a spicy take. I'm just like, but it has the thing you said you don't like.
We should have two categories, like hottest take and then just meme take.
Yeah, like hottest take and the meme. Like I think the Sangatsu one is like the meme take. Like that one was where everyone's like, you
copy pasta.
Yeah, we got to copy pasta that.
My hot take was that the anime community put so much weight in author interviews. Oh, we did go over that one.
Oh, we did go over. Yeah, we went over that. Sorry, we'll have to do timestamps, but we made that like a focus of that pod. We made that like that was the cornerstone of this episode.
Yeah, we brought it back up like 3 times.
So yeah, it might have. We talked about it earlier on though, so that's totally fair.
Class Fact says Gianni still won.
It's so true.
I mean, it's called the Gianni Wheel, so
Gianni Wheel of
there in spirit.
I'm thinking, okay, guys, just thinking with my gut based on the reactions and everything, I feel like it's the Kageyama top 15 one, not being top 15.
It's either of Shaw's favorites. You got the Steins Gate or you got the Kageyama one.
The Steins Gate 0 one is like, I don't know. I think everyone was like, Kageyama not top 15? What are you talking about? Like, I think that one was it. And then you got the sub take of Hinata isn't top 5.
Hey, he's just not varsity material.
Yeah. Amethyst said that she's going to be using not top 15 moving forward for top memes. And I think like if you start influencing the people around you with the inflammatory way of your hot take, that's like a Gianni move in and of itself. So in the spirit of being the Gianni series with the Gianni Cup and the Gianni Wheel, I think it's the Kageyama one. If you guys want to correct me, please let me know. But are you thinking the same?
I mean, I kept bringing back up top 15, so I think it has to be the Kageyama one. We will remember this as just, not being one of our top 15 episodes.
We're going to definitely, this episode, not top 15. We're going to bring that up. Like,
it was good. It was borderline great, but it's just, every other episode we have is just more interesting and better than
Yeah, see, if someone said Okabe not top 15 Steins Gate characters, I would flip my shit. I would flip shit. So yeah, I think
Are there 15 Steins Gate characters?
exactly. They don't even have 15.
I mean, with IQ, at least there's, that'd be interesting with World Trigger because there's like 40 or 50 characters. So.
You could say that. You could get some people going with that.
Yeah.
I think we're in agreement. Mostly
yeah,
agreement. Top
I think we're
15.
going to give it to it.
Yeah, so congratulations to Kageyama is not a top 15 character in Haikyuu. You are the winner of the community hot take. Everyone hated it. May God have mercy on your soul.
Yes. We will see you on the next
You see,
hot takes installment, but you should probably come on to that one and explain yourself a little more.
explain yourself, but it might make it worse. But I thought you were going to say
Probably.
we'll see you in hell because we have the fire in the background.
I mean, I'm not that mean, but yes,
You're not that mean.
we'll see you in a special hell only reserved for Gianni's takes.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do battle royale of hot takes. So
Yeah,
I think that's pretty much all for now.
that's it, guys.
We're gonna do another one of these with the community ones, but I think we might bring on some more people to have more battles over hot takes. So
Yeah.
stay tuned. But for everyone, thank you for submitting them. We're sorry if we missed yours, but we're gonna do this again. So keep your eyes peeled. Be sure to explain yourself in the takes because as you guys can see, the explanations sometimes make it or break it. So
yeah,
love to
because if
hear
we
it from
can
you.
wrap our head around it, we might be able to forgive it a little more. But
or it makes it worse. So
yeah, or makes
thank
it
you
totally
guys
worse.
for watching. I think it's our longest stream yet. Maybe.
I think so. I think we haven't had a long stream like this since beginning of this year. So.
Yeah, it's definitely top 15 longest streams.
Yeah. Oh God.
So
See,
we're gonna
it
terrorize
just keeps
everyone
coming back.
It
All
keeps
right,
coming
guys.
back. So,
Spread it around in the community.
Yeah. So thanks for
Um,
tuning in. Leave a comment if you disagree with any of our assessment of takes. Let us know what you guys think is the hottest take. So
Yeah, guys, let us know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. And besides that, at the end of the day, what do we know? We're just weebs. And we're also just late.
we're just late.
All right, guys. Hope you had fun. We have to actually leave right away because Shah's got another pod to record. So
I'm sorry.
it's okay. We know where your priorities are.
We're just
I'm kidding.
late.
I'm kidding.